Chapter 1066. Jianqin already knew that the ancestor of the Huanggu clan was Huang Wan's master, so he behaved rather politely. He did not radiate with any presence at all. Right now, he seemed just like an ordinary person, hovering in the air like an ordinary person. The ancestor of the Huanggu clan smiled from ear to ear as he arrived before Jianqin with feigned excitement. He constantly showered Jianqin with compliments, as if he was trying to get on his good side. Jianqin still had no idea what had happened to Huang Wan and Huang Tianba, so he was extremely friendly with the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. After all, he was Huang Wan's master. After exchanging some pleasantries with the ancestor, Jianqin cut straight to the chase. He asked, "Senior, may I ask if Wan and Senior Huang Tianba are with you?" The ancestor's heart sank once more, but he remained calm on the surface. He smiled. "I knew that Brother Jianqin would come to my humble abode to find my precious disciple and Huang Tianba. Unfortunately, Brother Jianqin, you've come too late. My precious disciple has gone out to train long ago, and Huang Tianba isn't with me either." "What? They're not with your clan?" Jianqin was stunned and asked in surprise. "Yes, they're not with us. Perhaps they've gone out together. Brother Jianqin, if you want to find them, I'll contact you as soon as they return," the ancestor of the Huanggu clan said calmly. The ancestor of the Huanggu clan said leisurely. However, no one knew that his current emotions were the complete opposite of his composure. He yearned for Jianqin to leave as soon as possible. Every second that Jianqin spent there, the ancestor of the Huanggu clan would become even more uneasy. Jianqin could not help but become confused when he heard what the ancestor of the Huanggu clan said. He had learned from Yu that ever since Huang Wan left Flame City and returned to the Huang family, she had never appeared again. There was not even a single piece of news. When he first heard this, Jianqin had thought that Huang Wan had remained in the Huang family to cultivate diligently. However, he discovered that Huang Wan was not there at all when he visited the Huang family. As a result, only the Huanggu clan was left. Jianqin still found it rather strange that the ancestor of the Huanggu clan had gone out to train. Suddenly, Jianqin expanded the senses of his soul, enveloping the entire Huanggu clan. He wanted to see if the situation was, as the ancestor had said. Jianqin's soul was extremely powerful. Coupled with the mysteries of his soul, it easily pierced through all the defenses and obstructions of the Huanggu clan, allowing him to see through all their secrets. However, when the senses of Jianqin's soul penetrated the tower at the very center of the Huanggu clan, his face immediately changed. A terrifying light immediately erupted from his indifferent eyes as he radiated with surging fury. Heavy killing intent filled his body as well. Jianqin saw a beggar-like old man chained up in the secret room. Although the old man's hair was disheveled and his face was haggard, Jianqin still recognized him with a single glance. He was the person he had come to the Huang family for, Huang Tianba. "Senior Huang!" Jianqin cried out. His eyes almost popped out of their sockets. He arrived before the tower in a flash and struck out with his hand. With a boom, the most sacred tower of the Huang family loudly exploded, reduced to dust by Jianqin's strike. The fragments of the tower shot out in all directions, destroying quite a few buildings in the Huanggu clan. As the tower shattered, Huang Tianba, who had been trapped in a secret room at the very top of the tower, fell out of the sky as well. With a flash, Jianqin appeared beside Huang Tianba in an instant, leaving behind an afterimage. He gently landed on the ground with Huang Tianba in his arms. His face had already paled. The ancestor of the Huanggu clan paled in fright. He glanced at the furious Jianqin in fright, and without any hesitation, he immediately fled into the distance as quickly as he could. However, he constantly cursed inside. "God damn it! How did this Jianqin know that I trapped Huang Tianba in the tower? He clearly didn't know before." Right now, the only thing the Huanggu clan cared about was their own survival. They did not even care about the lives of their clansmen. Huang Tianba was obviously extremely excited that he had suddenly been saved. Just when he wanted to say something, he suddenly saw the ancestor of the Huanggu clan flee. His eyes immediately became filled with resentment as he called out, "Jianqin, don't let that bastard escape!" "Senior Huang, don't worry. He won't be able to escape." Ice-cold killing intent shot out from Jianqin's eyes. With that, he immediately pursued the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. Jianqin and the ancestor of the Huanggu clan chased through the air. They both used spatial force to travel, so they moved extremely quickly. However, their comprehension of the mysteries of the world was at the 7th heavenly layer, so it was very difficult for them to close the distance between them after a while. With a flip of his hand, Jianqin pulled out the Emperor armament from his space ring. As he poured in chaotic force, the Emperor armament immediately began to glow with a black light. The terrifying energy caused the space around it to distort, even creating tiny, pitch-black cracks. Jianqin's battle prowess immediately skyrocketed after using the Emperor armament. The terrifying presence caused the ancestor of the Huanggu clan to pale in fright. He was filled with despair. Jianqin swung his sword, and a huge, black sword chi immediately shot out, shooting toward the ancestor with lightning-like speed. The ancestor of the Huanggu clan wanted to dodge, but it was impossible for him to dodge the sword chi with Jianqin's current strength. The difference between a holy emperor and a saint ruler was like the difference between heaven and earth. Arg! The sword chi caught up to the ancestor of the Huanggu clan in the blink of an eye. It severed his legs, leaving only the upper half of his body intact. The excruciating pain caused the ancestor to shriek out in agony. Even his fleeing speed was affected, slowing down. Jianqin put away the Emperor armament and quickly caught up to the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. This time, he did not show any mercy to the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. He ignored the ancestor's pained cries and dragged him back by his clothes. At this moment, the Huanggu clan had descended into chaos. Jianqin's actions in the tower had alarmed all the clansmen of the clan. All of them stopped cultivating and stepped out of their rooms to check on the situation outside. All the upper echelon of the clan had gathered around Huang Tianba. They all stared at him in shock as disbelief flooded their faces. They all recognized the ancestor of the Huang family, Huang Tianba, but they did not know what the ancestor of the Huanggu clan had done to him. Now that they suddenly saw Huang Tianba in such a state, they were all extremely shocked. They had no idea what had happened. At this moment, a tremendous presence appeared in the distance. Jianqin angrily returned with the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. After landing on the ground, he walked toward Huang Tianba step by step with the ancestor in hand. His face was sunken and his eyes were cold. A heavy killing intent still lingered around him. Ancestor! Ancestor! The clansmen of the Huanggu clan recognized the ancestor in Jianqin's hand with a single glance. Their faces all changed drastically as they cried out sorrowfully, "Let go of the ancestor." A middle-aged heaven Saint Master bellowed out. He directly drew his saint weapon and charged toward Jianqin with bloodshot eyes. "Piss off!" Jianqin bellowed out. He did not even glance at the person. He directly threw a punch, using his body to forcefully block the saint weapon. Ding! Jianqin's fist collided with the saint weapon. The saint weapon was shattered like tofu by Jianqin's punch. Afterward, the fist did not slow down at all, landing on the Heaven Saint Master's chest mercilessly. The Heaven Saint Master vomited blood and was blown away like a cannonball. He smashed through many buildings along the way before collapsing 100 meters away. His entire chest had caved in. His organs had been reduced to dust by Jianqin's punch. Sixth Elder, the Heaven Saint Masters of the Huanggu clan all cried out. They immediately flew toward the middle-aged man that Jianqin had injured, only to discover that the sixth elder was dead. He had died on the spot from Jianqin's casual punch. The clansmen of the Huanggu clan immediately fell silent when they saw how powerful Jianqin was. They all stared at Jianqin in both shock and fear. No one dared to say anything else. They all moved out of the way for Jianqin. Chapter 1067. No matter who it is, kill them all if they offend you, Jianqin said coldly. His impression of the Huanggu clan had completely changed now. He now viewed them with hostility. Huang Tianba had shown him great kindness in the past, and he was Huang Wan's great-grandfather as well. No matter what grievances Huang Tianba had with the ancestor of the Huanggu clan, Jianqin would stand on Huang Tianba's side. Jianqin slowly made his way to Huang Tianba's side with the ancestor who had lost his legs. He tossed him to the ground without any politeness and crouched down. He asked in concern, "Senior Huang Tianba, are you all right? What happened?" Huang Tianba looked at the ancestor, who was lying on the ground like a pile of mud. He was extremely delighted. At the same time, he was extremely shocked by Jianqin's strength. Right now, Huang Tianba's understanding of Jianqin's strength was still the same as a few years ago. He had no idea just how terrifying Jianqin had become. "Brother Jianqin, this bastard is only doing this to me because my precious granddaughter possesses the water spirit's body, something that's rarely seen in 100,000 years. Her talent is unprecedented, and her future is limitless. Right now, my precious granddaughter is being imprisoned by this bastard in a secret room 1,000 meters underground. Hurry up and save her." Huang Tianba's tone was somewhat urgent. He was very concerned about Huang Wan's safety. Jianqin's face changed slightly with that. He immediately expanded the senses of his soul, and just as expected, he discovered that Huang Wan was trapped in a room 1,000 meters underground. The entire room was enveloped by a powerful barrier. Jianqin's heart immediately ached when he saw Huang Wan's haggard face. He struggled to imagine just how much pain she had gone through in the past few years. However, killing intent even more intense than before rose up from Jianqin's heart. It was killing intent for the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. "Senior Huang Tianba, let me undo your chains first," Jianqin said with a deep voice. Jianqin said in a low tone. Next, he gripped the thick iron chain with both hands and exerted a bit of force. With two cracking sounds, the iron chain binding Huang Tianba was instantly shattered by Jianqin. The chains were forged from a special metal, but they were not indestructible. It was just that Huang Tianba's strength had been sealed, so he was unable to use his strength as a saint ruler, which was why he had been bound by the chains for so long. Huang Tianba regained his freedom. He stood up from the ground as he trembled. He thanked Jianqin first before arriving before the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. He laughed in delight and clenched his teeth. "Bastard, you never thought that you'd end up like this, did you? I'd like to see how you'll harm my precious granddaughter now that you're like this." Huang Tianba's voice was filled with deep hatred. As he spoke, he kicked the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. However, as his strength had been sealed and he had been chained up for so long, not only did he fail to hurt the ancestor, but he even stumbled over himself. Jianqin supported Huang Tianba with one hand and said, "Senior Huang Tianba, I'll leave this person for you to deal with. Your strength has been sealed right now, so you should enter the artifact space first. I'll get someone to remove the seal for you." Jianqin was unable to remove the seal on Huang Tianba because chaotic force was too brutal. It was not something that ordinary people could endure. If his chaotic force entered Huang Tianba's body, not only would it not be able to help him, it would even harm him. "No, I have to kill this bastard right now to vent my anger." Huang Tianba was beyond furious. Killing intent surged from him as he hated the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. The ancestor of the Huanggu clan raised his head to look at the furious Huang Tianba. Not only was there no fear in his eyes, but he instead laughed complacently. "Ha ha ha, Huang Tianba, I don't think you're bold enough to kill me unless you want your precious granddaughter to die." Huang Tianba's face immediately changed when he heard that. He glared at the ancestor of the Huanggu clan and yelled out, "Bastard, what did you do to my granddaughter?" It was not just Huang Tianba. Even Jianchen's face became rather ugly. "Ha ha ha ha, Huang Tianba, since you want to know so badly, I'll tell you." The ancestor of the Huanggu clan was filled with complacency. Although he had ended up in Jianchen's hands, he did not fear for his life at all. "I've already used an ancient secret technique to leave behind an imprint of sharing life and death in your precious granddaughter's soul. If you kill me, the imprint hidden in your granddaughter's soul will explode as well, wiping out your granddaughter's soul. Huang Tianba, if you want your granddaughter to die, then go ahead and kill me." Huang Tianba and Jianchen's faces both sank when they heard that. If the situation really was as the ancestor of the Huanggu clan had said, they really did not dare to kill him. "Senior Huang Tianba, go remove the seal in the artifact space first. I'll go check on Luan, or immediately, and see if it's really as he says," Jianchen said indifferently. Afterward, he pulled out the saint artifact and sucked Huang Tianba in without any explanation. At the same time, he contacted the artifact spirit through his mind, telling the artifact spirit to tell Honglian and Blackfish to remove the seal for Huang Tianba. Jianchen obviously would not let go of the ancestor of the Huanggu clan who had lost his legs. He was sucked into the artifact space as well, but his treatment inside was completely different. All the clansmen of the Huanggu clan stood in the surroundings in a daze. Their faces became extremely mixed. They had no idea that the ancestor of the Huanggu clan would do something so disgraceful to the Huang family that they had always been on good terms with. All of them were extremely shocked and found it difficult to accept. They dared not show any disrespect to Jianchen at all. Although they did not know as much about Jianchen's reputation as the ancestor of the Huanggu clan, they had still heard a little about him. They knew that Jianchen was not someone their clan could afford to provoke right now. Not to mention that even their strongest ancestor had lost his legs to Jianchen so easily, which made it even more difficult for them to act rashly before Jianchen. Jianchen's face was sunken as he glanced past all the clansmen of the Huanggu clan. Anyone who made eye contact with Jianchen would feel like they were being stared at by a sharp sword. They would feel a chill from the bottom of their hearts as they lowered their heads. Their hearts were filled with unease. Jianchen did not make things difficult for them. He could tell from their expressions that they had been kept in the dark. They had no idea what the ancestor of the Huanggu clan had done. Afterwards, Jianchen expanded the senses of his soul and directly penetrated the ground. He found the tunnel that led to the secret room underground and made his way there. 1,000 meters underground, in the completely sealed secret chamber, Huang Wan, who was wearing a blue robe, was sitting cross-legged in the secret chamber. Her body was emitting a dazzling blue light, which was sacred and holy as if she was a god. The surroundings of the room were filled with crystalline droplets of water. Every single droplet shone with a blue light, dyeing the gloomy room blue. It was a beautiful sight. A few droplets of water drifted around the room, circling around Huang Wan happily from time to time. They were like lively spirits that were filled with life. Right now, Huang Wan's presence was countless times more powerful than before because the 5-colored rainbow clouds had descended because of her. She was no longer a heaven saint master, but a saint ruler. Chapter 1068. Suddenly, the surging water-attributed energy in the room began to violently pulse. Even the droplets of water that floated in the air like happy spirits lost their ability to stay afloat. They all fell from the air, shattering when they hit the ground. The water attribute Yuan Qi that filled the secret room suddenly became very unstable. Huang Wan, who was sitting cross-legged in the secret chamber, slowly opened her eyes. Her enchanting eyes glanced at the water droplets on her face as she frowned slightly. Strange. Why do I suddenly feel like I'm unable to control the water-attributed energy? and the energy within me seems to have lost control, Huang Wan murmured to herself as she pondered. Huang Wan let out a low murmur and revealed a pondering expression. Then she seemed to have thought of something, and a glimmer of light flashed in her eyes. She said to herself, "Could it be because of the cultivation method? That old thing didn't give me the real, heavenly scripture of the sunflower water." The more Huang Wan thought about it, the more likely it seemed. Her face gradually became stern, but she soon recovered her previous coldness and calmness. She said softly, "It doesn't matter whether the cultivation method the old bastard gave me is the true scripture of the aquatic sunflower or not. I've already become a saint ruler, so I'm countless times more powerful than a heaven saint master. Once that old bastard comes, I'll immediately put my life on the line against him. Even if I have to pay with my life, I won't let him have it easy. As long as the news of what happened here spreads, the people of the clan will definitely think of a way to save great-grandfather." Determination filled Huang Wan's eyes. She had already made up her mind to die. She no longer wished to live as freely as she did in the past. She knew that she would probably never be able to live the same life as before. Suddenly, a series of muffled rumbles sounded, and the heavy door of the secret room slowly opened. Huang Wan immediately dismissed her thoughts. Her eyes became extremely sharp in a single moment as intense killing intent flickered in her eyes. She knew that the ancestor of the Huanggu clan had come. If she wanted to heavily injure the ancestor of the Huanggu clan, who was stronger than her, she needed to unleash her full strength while he was unprepared. Otherwise, she would be at an absolute disadvantage in an open battle. Rich and pure water attribute energy boiled in the secret room. In Huang Wan's hand, a 2-finger-wide blue longsword appeared. It was wrapped in a layer of intense blue light. Through the blue light, one could clearly see that there was a layer of water ripples flowing on the surface of the longsword. At this time, the door of the secret room was already half open. It was pitch black outside. A black figure was quietly standing outside the door of the secret room. He couldn't see his face clearly. In all these years, only a single person had come to the room, and that was the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. As a result, Huang Wan obviously treated the person who had opened the door as the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. Before the door was completely open, she directly stabbed out. This was the most powerful attack Huang Wan could unleash after charging up. She did not hold back at all, even using the strength of a first heavenly layer saint ruler beyond her limits. The sword tore through the air and immediately shone with blue light. It was as dazzling as the sun, dyeing the gloomy room blue. Powerful pulses of energy pulsed from the sword, causing the space there to distort. Black threads immediately appeared, creating spatial cracks. Huang Wan discovered that the water-attributed saint force within her began to pulse in an extremely unstable manner as she stabbed out. She felt like she was about to lose control. However, she no longer cared about that now. She focused all of her attention on the attack. She wanted to deal the heaviest strike while the enemy was caught off guard. She did not want to kill him, only injure him. The black figure outside the door did not become flustered at all. He did not try to dodge or block at all. He remained where he was and did not radiate with any energy at all. Huang Wan's attack was as fast as lightning. She arrived before the figure in a single instance and stabbed toward his chest mercilessly. The moment the sword struck the figure's chest, the sword shone with a blue light. Huang Wan discovered that the clothes and figure of the person before her were slightly different from the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. However, she no longer had the time to think about this. Boom! Huang Wan's all-out attack fiercely pierced into the chest of the black figure, standing outside the door of the secret room. The surging and pure water attribute energy immediately burst out, producing a burst of oppressive, rumbling sound. The strong energy aftermath turned into a terrifying shockwave that collided with the surrounding walls, causing the entire secret room to shake violently. If it were not for the fact that the room was tough enough, it probably would have collapsed from Huang Wan's attack. When Huang Wan saw that her all-out attack had actually accurately pierced her opponent, her heart immediately rejoiced. However, the trace of joy in her heart quickly dissipated into thin air. This was because she had already keenly felt that her sword did not penetrate her opponent's body as she had imagined. Instead, it was as if she had stabbed a piece of incomparably hard steel. The powerful rebounding force had actually shaken her arm to the point of numbness. Huang Wan's heart sank. She had already realized that the ancestor of the Huanggu clan had probably come prepared. Her full-powered attack had failed to harm him at all. Wan. Just at this moment, a gentle voice entered Huang Wan's ears. Hearing this voice, Huang Wan's delicate body violently trembled because she was too familiar with this voice. It had even appeared frequently in her memory. Huang Wan stared at the figure standing outside the room in shock. Afterwards, with the blue light from the sword, she finally saw the figure's appearance. This was such a familiar face. Although there were some slight changes compared to a few years ago, this face had been deeply imprinted in the depths of Huang Wan's mind. Even after thousands of years, she would not be able to forget it. Huang Wan became stunned. She stared blankly at the figure that she had missed so much. She was unable to react for quite some time. At this moment, her heart was trembling, and her delicate body couldn't help but slightly tremble. 2 lines of sparkling and translucent tears even flowed out of her pair of bright and beautiful eyes, slowly sliding down her long cheeks. Jianchen. Huang Wan's voice trembled slightly. At this moment, she struggled to believe that the person before her was not the ancestor of the Huanggu clan, but the person she had missed so much, Jianchen. At this moment, she felt like everything before her was a dream. It was not real. Wan, you've suffered all these years. Jianchen softly said from outside the room. His voice was extremely gentle, but his heart throbbed with pain. The sword was still pressed against Jianchen's chest. Huang Wan's full-powered attack earlier had only managed to pierce through Jianchen's clothes. It had failed to injure Jianchen at all. Jianchen, is it really you? Huang Wan asked with a trembling voice. Large droplets of tears rolled down her cheeks, becoming more and more turbulent. The sword in her hand also began to tremble as it drooped down. Wan, it's me. I've come to save you. You're safe now. No one will be able to hurt you in the future. Jianchen took a step forward and hugged Huang Wan tightly. His heart felt like it was being stabbed. He did not dare to imagine just how much Huang Wan had suffered, just how much pressure she had endured, and just how much suffering she had endured. There were countless people with tragic fates on the Tianyuan continent. There were even many people whose fates were thousands of times more painful than Huang Wan's. However, Huang Wan held an extremely important position in Jianchen's heart. He would never allow any harm to befall her. The sword in Huang Wan's hand slowly disappeared. The coldness on her face gradually vanished, replaced by a gentleness that had not appeared on her face for many years. Even her cold gaze rapidly softened. She then loudly called out Jianchen's name and threw herself into Jianchen's arms. She began to sob loudly, as if she wanted to vent all the pressure and suffering she had endured over the years. Jianchen hugged Huang Wan tightly. He could clearly feel that his clothes had been soaked by Huang Wan's tears. While he felt heartache for what Huang Wan had gone through, he also felt a sliver of joy. He was happy that Huang Wan had become a saint ruler now. Suddenly, Jianchen's eyes narrowed and he frowned slightly. He could feel the energy within Huang Wan violently surging, as if it was completely out of her control. It surged wildly in her body, rampaging about. In the end, it actually charged out of her body with a bright blue light and arrived in the secret room. As the energy leaked out, Huang Wan's entire body began to shine with a bright blue light. It was extremely dazzling. Wan, what's going on? Jianqin worriedly asked. He already sensed that something was wrong with what was happening. Huang Wan slowly calmed down. She raised her head from Jianqin's chest and no longer looked coldly at Jianqin. Instead, her gaze was filled with gentleness. She said, "Jianqin, there's probably something wrong with the scripture of the sunflower aqua that old bastard gave me. It's very difficult for me to control the energy in my body right now. I feel like all the energy in my body is about to break free and escape my control." With that, Huang Wan gently rested her head on Jianqin's chest again. Her face was filled with satisfaction and happiness. She did not care about the situation of her energy going out of control at all. She had already made up her mind to die long ago. Aside from Jianqin and Huang Tianba, she no longer cared about anything else. Since her great-grandfather had been saved and the person she missed the most was by her side, Huang Wan was very satisfied. She did not care whether she was a saint ruler or not. As long as Jianqin was by her side, she possessed the entire world. She did not care about anything else. That old bastard, how dare he treat you like this? I'll definitely make him suffer a fate worse than death. Jianqin's face paled. He was filled with anxiety. He was unable to stop the energy from leaking out of Huang Wan's body at all. Suddenly, a streak of golden light shot out from between Jianqin's eyebrows. The saint artifact had already flown out from his sea of consciousness. It turned into a fist-sized golden tower that slowly revolved in the room. Let's go to the artifact space. Don't worry, I'll definitely get the solution from that bastard. Jianqin comforted her before wanting to take Huang Wan into the artifact space. Jianqin! Just when Jianqin was about to enter the artifact space, a female voice rang out in the empty room. Her voice was beautiful, and it seemed to be filled with endless charm. It could steal souls. Chapter 1069. Huang Wan offers herself. Esteemed Majesty Poseidon, why have you appeared here? Jianqin asked in surprise. He was extremely shocked inside. If I hadn't appeared, your friend would have been completely hopeless. Once all the energy and the potential of the water spirit's body completely dissipates, she would have become immortal. She would have lost an excellent water spirit's body for nothing. Poseidon looked at Huang Wan indifferently as he spoke in a gentle yet dignified voice. Jianqin immediately became extremely worried when he heard that Huang Wan might become immortal and that she was constantly losing energy. He hurriedly said, "Your Majesty Poseidon, please save Luan." Poseidon gently extended a finger. Although there was no earth-shattering might, the finger seemed to possess the power to freeze time and space. As he extended his finger, the pure water energy that slowly flowed through the room immediately froze. Even the energy that was constantly dissipating from Huang Wan's body seemed to be blocked by a mysterious force. It was firmly trapped within her body. Huang Wan's face immediately changed when she sensed the changes in her body. Shock filled her face because, at that moment, she felt like the energy within her had become someone else's energy. It was completely out of her control. Although she had lost control of the energy within her body before, she could still control it slightly. She just did not have the power to stop it. However, she had completely lost control over the energy within her body now. It was as if the energy that she had spent so many years painstakingly cultivating had completely become someone else's property. It had become someone else's property. Poseidon used the power of a finger to freeze the pure water energy before looking at Jianqin. She said, "Jianqin, I can only use the power of my soul to forcefully control the energy and stop it from dissipating. If you want to save her, you'll have to rely on yourself." Seeing that Huang Wan was temporarily fine, Jianqin could not help but feel relieved. He asked, "Your Majesty Poseidon, what exactly do I have to do to make Luan retain her strength? Is it to find the correct cultivation method?" Poseidon shook her head and said, "I know a bit about the cultivation method she cultivates the heavenly scripture of the sunflower aqua. This cultivation method was created several 100,000 years ago by an unprecedented genius. At the very beginning, there was only one portion of this cultivation method. It was an upper-level cultivation method of the water attribute. It was incomparably wondrous. With this cultivation method, that genius became a holy emperor in just a short 1,000 years. Later on, this prodigy met a woman with the water spirit body. The speed at which the water spirit body cultivates a water attribute cultivation method shocked this prodigy. Thus, this prodigy became curious about this woman with the water spirit body. After deliberately approaching her, he quickly became partners with this woman with the water spirit body. After that, as he came into contact with the water spirit body, this genius had a more thorough understanding of the water spirit body. After that, he relied on his extraordinary talent and spent tens of years to create the second part of the sunflower aqua heavenly scripture. He then gave the second part of the sunflower aqua heavenly scripture to his partner. This genius partner did not suspect anything and began to cultivate the second portion of the heavenly scripture of the sunflower aqua. However, she never thought that the second portion of the cultivation method was not some powerful cultivation method. Instead, it was a cultivation method that specifically targeted the water spirit body. After cultivating this cultivation method, not only did the energy within her body go out of control, even the potential of the water spirit body was stripped from her body. She ended up like your friend. Afterwards, the genius absorbed all the pure water-attributed energy in his partner and all the potential of the water spirit's body that had been stripped away. He converted it all into his own energy, which not only greatly increased his strength, but even his talent for cultivation increased as well. In the end, he became a saint emperor on the Tianyuan continent. His partner, on the other hand, lost all her powers and became immortal. She, who was originally beautiful, turned into a white-haired old woman in the blink of an eye. She committed suicide out of grief. Poseidon paused slightly when he reached there. He looked at Jianqin and continued, "Jianqin, you should understand now. Your friend cultivates the second portion of the heavenly scripture of the sunflower aqua. The person who gave her this cultivation method wanted to borrow the methods of that genius to absorb your friend's energy and the potential of the water spirit body through a special method and convert it into his own power." Jianqin and Huang Wan both fell silent when they heard Poseidon's words. They remained silent for quite a while. Poseidon's story had a great impact on the two of them. They both felt pity for the water spirit body that had been harmed by her husband. They felt deep sympathy for her. At the same time, Jianqin's killing intent for the ancestor of the Huanggu clan became even more intense. It had already reached its limit, but it did not erupt here. "Your Majesty Poseidon, what happened to that genius in the end?" Jianqin continued to ask. He cared about this very much. After the genius became a holy emperor, he became embroiled in a large-scale battle and died. "His soul was wiped out," Poseidon said. Jianqin only felt great joy when he heard what happened to the prodigy. Although the prodigy's talent was unprecedented, he was a vicious person. Even his wife, who trusted him so much, was so cruel to him. He deserved to die. That woman is so pitiful. Huang Wan's face was filled with sympathy. As a woman who also possessed the water spirit body, she deeply felt pain for the woman's fate. "There's nothing pitiful about living in this world," said Jianqin. The sea goddess said. Although her tone was gentle, it was filled with a merciless coldness. She was one of the 4 supreme experts of the ancient era. She had walked step by step through a cruel fate, so she had seen too many things like this. After a moment of silence, the sea goddess continued, "Jianqin, there's only one way to save your friend and prevent her from losing her water spirit's body so that she can retain her current strength." "What way?" Jianqin was startled. He quickly tossed the story of the scripture of the aquatic sunflower to the back of his mind. He had experienced the cruelty of the Tianyuan continent personally, so he would not be affected by some stories so easily. At most, he would feel a little emotional. Huang Wan also turned her head to look at Poseidon. Although she still did not know Poseidon's true identity, she clearly paid close attention to the fact that he could solve her problem. Although Huang Wan had already seen through many things and did not place much importance on her own strength, she deeply understood that she needed to possess enough strength to stay by Jianchen's side. Once she lost her strength and became an ordinary person, her lifespan would be greatly reduced. She would also have to suffer the consequences of aging. If possible, she also hoped that she could retain her strength as a saint ruler so that she could stay with Jianchen forever. Poseidon did not reply immediately. His gaze became rather complicated. After a moment of hesitation, he said, "Jianchen, if you want to solve your friend's problem, you need to suppress the potential that has been taken away from her with even greater strength than your friend. Then, with my assistance, the water spirit body's potential will return to her body and reconstruct the water spirit body." Jianchen revealed a troubled expression. He said, "Your Majesty Poseidon, the strength I possess is far too great. I'm afraid that Huang Wan's body will not be able to endure it. Your strength is indeed very great. A normal person's body will not be able to endure it. However, don't worry, I have my own methods to weaken your strength. The water spirit body is not a normal body. If the two of you have sex, control the strength to enter her body slowly from the lower part of her body. After that, stay in the dantian of the water spirit body for a while and use pure water attribute energy to neutralize your tyrannical strength. Then, with my assistance, you'll be able to make her endure your strength." Poseidon said, "What, you want to use the method of sex?" Jianchen was immediately shocked. His face was filled with disbelief. At that moment, he even doubted his ears. Huang Wan's face immediately became crimson. She secretly glanced at Jianchen from the corner of her eyes before quickly burying her head in Jianchen's chest. She hugged Jianchen even tighter. "This is the only method I can think of. There is no other method other than this." Poseidon looked deeply at Jianchen. But this will hurt Luan." Jianchen hesitated. He dilly-dallied, unable to make up his mind. At the same time, he keenly sensed that Huang Wan, who was lying in his arms, was rapidly rising in temperature. Huang Wan slowly raised her head. Her pair of bright and beautiful eyes were filled with faint affection. She looked at Jianchen with infatuation. She gently opened her mouth and exhaled. "Jianchen, Luan belongs to you. No matter if it's a Luan-er's body or soul, they belong to you alone. In this world, only you are worthy of Luan-er. Luan-er is not afraid of being hurt." As she spoke, Huang Wan's breathing became somewhat hurried. Her heartbeat also became more and more violent. Then, she slowly unbuttoned her clothes. Her aqua blue dress immediately slid down from her body, revealing her white as mutton fat skin. Luan-er. Looking at Huang Wan's exquisite and charming figure, Jianchen wanted to say something but stopped. Although he knew that Huang Wan had deep feelings for him, he still felt that he was taking advantage of her in this kind of situation. "Jianchen, you are the only one in Luan-er's heart. Luan-er has belonged to you since a long time ago. Jianchen, Luan-er loves you very much. Take Luan-er. Luan-er wants to become your woman." Huang Wan affectionately looked at Jianchen. Her hands slowly began to unbutton Jianchen's clothes. When it came to matters of the heart, Huang Wan was very straightforward. She would not deliberately avoid it. She was completely different from ordinary girls. Jianchen slowly closed his eyes. His heart seemed to be fiercely struggling, but soon his closed eyes opened again. The expression in his eyes was no longer hesitant, but decisive. Bang! Jianchen's body violently shook. A strong force burst out from his body, tearing his clothes to shreds, revealing his nearly perfect male body. Then he opened his arms and tightly hugged Huang Wan's burning body. At the same time, his lips pressed against Huang Wan's cherry lips. Two naked bodies. Chapter 1070. The blue light that had dyed the entire secret room blue had disappeared. At this moment, the secret room had become completely dark. It was so dark that one couldn't even see one's own fingers. One could only hear the endless sounds of ecstasy, which made one's heart surge with lust. Jianchen's mind was clear in the dark room. Strands of chaotic force slowly separated from his dantian under his careful control, entering Huang Wan's body through a special method. He then followed Poseidon's method and stopped in her dantian for a while. Huang Wan's water spirit's body was indeed much more wondrous than regular constitutions. Even though she had lost control of the pure water-attributed energy within her, it was still as powerful as before. When Jianchen's strand of chaotic force stopped in her dantian, he indeed felt the brutal and destructive presence of his chaotic force rapidly weaken under the suppression of the pure water-attributed energy. Jianchen, I'll tell you the exact method to reconstruct the water spirit's body now. You have to follow it. Don't make a single mistake, or you probably won't be able to reconstruct the water spirit's body. Poseidon's voice rang out in Jianchen's head. She extended a finger, and the pure water-attributed energy immediately began to surge. It surged toward Huang Wan's body, entering her body in the end. The water-attributed energy and the potential of the water spirit's body that had just drifted out of Huang Wan's body returned under Poseidon's interference. Huang Wan's water spirit's body had been damaged ever since she began cultivating the second portion of the scripture of the aquatic sunflower. It was on the verge of collapse. If it were not for the sea goddess' timely arrival, Huang Wan probably would have lost all her power and become immortal. Afterwards, Poseidon passed on the method to Jianchen to reconstruct Huang Wan's water spirit's body. She also assisted from the side, using the power of her soul at the origin realm and her absolute control over water-attributed energy to reconstruct Huang Wan's water spirit's body with Jianchen. The water spirit's body was a special physique that only appeared once in 100,000 years on the Tianyuan continent. This physique was completely innate and could not be cultivated through cultivation. Huang Wan's water spirit body was on the verge of shattering, and even the energy and potential of the water spirit body within her body had begun to leak out. Under such circumstances, it was undoubtedly very difficult to reconstruct the water spirit body, or even impossible to accomplish. This was because the water spirit body was not an ordinary body. Facing such a strange body, even the Holy Emperor would be at a loss of what to do, let alone reconstruct it. This time, it was fortunate that Huang Wan had the help of the god of the sea race. Therefore, the water spirit body that made even the Holy Emperor feel helpless could be restored. The god of the sea race was one of the 4 supreme experts of ancient times, after all. She was a supreme expert who had reached the legendary origin realm. As the sovereign of water, her understanding of the water spirit's body was unmatched. The reconstruction of Huang Wan's water spirit's body that was on the verge of shattering went extremely smoothly. Jianchen followed Poseidon's instructions, carefully completing every single step and detail. Finally, after an entire day, he successfully restored Huang Wan's water spirit's body. After the hidden danger in her body was completely resolved, Huang Wan immediately felt that her sensitivity towards water attribute energy had reached an unprecedented height. She also clearly felt that the compatibility between her body and water attribute energy had reached an unbelievable level. Now, she felt that as long as she willed it, she could instantly gather all the water attribute energy within a radius of dozens of miles for her own use. She had experienced this feeling before, but it was nowhere near as intense as now. Not only did the water spirit's body provide Huang Wan with heaven-defying talent for cultivation, but it also granted her supreme control over water-attributed energy as well as an endless path in life. The chaotic force that had been separated from Jianqin and entered Huang Luan did not return to Jianqin. Instead, it remained in Huang Luan's body forever under Poseidon's control. It was refined into strands of pure water-attributed saint force by Huang Luan, turning into her own power. Although there was not a lot of chaotic force that had been separated from Jianqin's dantian, a strand of chaotic force was refined from an ocean of energy after all. Just a tiny amount was enough for Huang Luan's strength to skyrocket, directly reaching the third heavenly layer from the first heavenly layer of Saint Ruler. Huang Luan's benefits did not stop there. Even her water spirit's body benefited tremendously. Her body had become even tougher. Although it was nowhere near as tough as Jian Chen's chaotic body, no one could match up to opponents of the same level. Aside from that, even the pure water-attributed saint force in her body seemed to undergo some sort of subtle change. The problem of Huang Luan's water spirit's body had finally been resolved, allowing Jianqin to finally relax. The two of them finally separated. They both took out clothes from their space rings and put them on at the same time. The difference was that Jianqin was filled with mixed feelings, while Huang Luan was filled with sweetness, satisfaction, and happiness. Jianqin. Huang Luan could not help but gently call out Jianqin's name after putting on her clothes. She pressed herself against Jianqin again as a satisfied and happy smile appeared on her face. She lay on Jianqin's chest quietly, glued to him like glue. Jianqin gently embraced Huang Luan's delicate body as he used his nose to inhale the fragrance from her. He knew that Huang Luan had truly become his woman now. At the same time, she was the second woman in his life to have sex with him. The first was the cold and proud heavenly enchantress. Back then, the two of them had been restricted by special circumstances, so they had no choice but to do it when their lives were in grave danger. They had also been forced to do it under special circumstances like Huang Luan, but unlike the first time, Huang Luan had fallen in love. She had thrown herself into Jianqin's arms and offered herself to him. Sigh. Jianqin sighed inside. He could not help but think about the past. It was when he had accidentally met Huang Luan in the river outside Wake City. Now that he thought about everything that had happened when he first met Huang Luan, Jianqin could not help but sigh inside. Who would have thought that the girl he had accidentally met would develop such a relationship with him? Suddenly, Jianqin seemed to think of something. He quickly calmed down and said to Huang Luan, "Luan, did the ancestor of the Huanggu clan cast an ancient secret technique on you called life and death sharing on you?" Huang Luan nodded, but did not say anything. Jianqin's heart sank slightly after receiving confirmation. He then looked at Poseidon and said, "Your Majesty Poseidon, may I ask if you understand this secret technique and if you can undo it?" Although Poseidon had helped Jianqin a lot, Jianqin did not feel like he owed Poseidon because he knew that he would repay him in the future. Once the worldly ebb of the sea realm descended, it would be time for him to repay Poseidon's kindness. "I can reconstruct the water spirit's body for your friend in my current state, but I can't undo this secret technique. However, it's not difficult to undo it. You can take her to the Protector clan. They should be able to do something," Poseidon said. Afterward, Jianqin and Huang Luan bid farewell to Poseidon and left the underground room together. When they appeared above ground, they discovered that most of the clansmen of the Huanggu clan had already left. Only a small group of old people remained. During the time that Jianqin remained in the underground room, the Huanggu clan worried that Jianqin would vent his anger on the clan because of what happened to Huang Tianba and his granddaughter. As a result, they moved most of their clansmen away in hopes of leaving behind some descendants. Only a portion of old people who were loyal to the clan and were ready to die remained. If it was in the past, it was extremely likely that Jianqin would vent his anger on these people or even wipe out the entire clan. However, his strength had reached the level of the Holy Emperor now, so his mental state had changed slightly. coupled with the fact that the clansmen of the Huanggu clan had no idea why Huang Tianba was trapped. He did not make things difficult for them. He left with Huang Wan and returned to the Huang family. The seal in Huang Tianba's body had been removed by black fish, coupled with the fact that the artifact spirit had personally healed him with radiant saint force. Huang Tianba recovered extremely quickly. He had returned to his peak condition long ago. The ancestor of the Huanggu clan that Jianqin had thrown into the artifact space had been viciously tortured by Huang Tianba. He wished he was dead, but his life was spared because he had used a secret technique on Huang Wan. Huang Tianba and Huang Wan returned to the clan. The news of them being trapped in the Huanggu clan quickly spread through the entire clan, immediately causing a huge uproar in the Huang family. Afterward, Huang Tianba carried the sun and moon bao on his back and personally led the experts of the Huang family to the Huanggu clan aggressively. He swore that he would wipe out the Huanggu clan and make it disappear from the Tianyuan continent. However, Jianqin and Huang Wan remained in the Huang family peacefully. They did not pay any attention to Huang Tianba's actions against the Huanggu clan. When Huang Tianba returned with the experts of the clan, Jianqin learned from Huang Tianba that he had already destroyed the Huanggu clan's territory with the sun and moon bao. The original members of the Huanggu clan had also been attacked by the experts of the Huang family and completely wiped out. At the same time, the Huang family had sent half of their experts to hunt down the people of the Huanggu clan who had fled. They wanted to wipe out the descendants of the Huanggu clan. Chapter 1071. At dusk, the setting sun was as red as blood. Jianqin wore a white robe as he stood straight, like a sword at the peak of the mountains. He stared at the red glow in the sky in a daze and did not move for a long time. Below his feet was a sea of white clouds. The mountain he stood on was the highest peak in the mountain range that the Huang clan occupied. The mountain was steep and the terrain was so steep that it was impossible to climb. The wind in the sky was very fierce, making ear-piercing, whistling sounds. Mixed in with it were the roars of beasts coming from the forest in the distance. When the two were combined, it sounded like the wailing of ghosts and the howling of wolves. A white figure quickly flew over from the distance, arriving before the mountain Jianqin stood on in an instant. She then gracefully walked to Jianqin's side and gently hugged one of Jianqin's arms. Afterwards, she buried her head in Jianqin's shoulder and revealed a happy and satisfied expression. Huang Wan was the real Huang Wan. She wore a light makeup on her face. The person who had come was Huang Wan. Today, Huang Wan was dressed particularly beautifully. She wore light makeup, which made her already alluring appearance even more beautiful. Her bright eyes seemed to contain a strange attraction, which added a bit of charm to her innocence. Her hair was glossy and shiny, draping down her back like a waterfall. Today, she had specially worn a white, luxurious dress. Her clothes were whiter than snow, making her seem like a fairy. When she stood beside Jianqin, who was also wearing a white robe, they seemed like an immortal couple. Huang Wan snuggled up in Jianqin's arms. She was filled with happiness and joy as she stared at the red glow in the distance with Jianqin. Neither of them said anything. The blood-red sun gradually dimmed. The dusky sky gradually darkened. Just as the world was about to be enveloped in darkness, the sound of something rushing through the air rang out in the distance. A figure shot over like a meteor, arriving behind Jianqin in just a few breaths. "Nephew Jianqin, why have you called me here? What do you want to discuss with me?" Huang Tianba smiled and said. Even the way he addressed Jianqin had changed from little brother to nephew. Especially when he saw Huang Wan and Jianqin snuggling together, his heart was filled with joy. Now that her great-grandfather was here, Huang Wan felt embarrassed to continue being so intimate with Jianqin. She reluctantly let go of Jianqin's arm and looked at Huang Tianba with a slightly red face. She softly called out, "Great-grandfather." Looking at Huang Wan's bashful expression, he couldn't help but smile. Huang Tianba chuckled and nodded without saying a word. Jianqin slowly turned around and calmly looked at Huang Tianba. He smiled and said, "Senior Huang, Jianqin called you here because I have something important to tell you." Hearing something important, Huang Tianba immediately became serious and said, "Please speak, nephew." Jianchen paused for a moment and said, "Senior Huang, I want to bring you to Mercenary City and ask the spirit of the spirit formation to simulate the mysteries of the world to help you break through. I wonder if you are willing?" "What?" "Ask the spirit formation of Mercenary City to simulate the mysteries of the world to help me break through?" Huang Tianba was shocked. His eyes widened to the size of copper bells as he stared at Jianchen. His face was filled with disbelief, and his heart was filled with shock. He simply did not dare to believe what he had just heard was true. Huang Tianba knew a little about the spirit formation of Mercenary City, but he did not know the details. However, there was one thing he knew. The spirit formation of Mercenary City had existed since ancient times. It was a product passed down from the ancient era. It was extremely powerful and had always been the guardian of Mercenary City. However, what he found hard to believe was that Jianqin could actually make the spirit formation of Mercenary City simulate the mysteries of the world to help others break through. This was just too shocking. This was because a similar rumor had never appeared on the Tianyuan continent. No one knew that the spirit formation of Mercenary City had such a wondrous use. "Senior Huang, I wonder if you are willing to go?" Jianchen looked at Huang Tianba with a smile that did not seem like a smile. I'm willing. Of course I'm willing. How can I miss out on such a great opportunity?" Huang Tianba returned to his senses and hurriedly replied. He was afraid that he would miss out on such a rare opportunity if he answered too late. Afterward, Huang Tianba left overjoyed. He began to hand over some matters to the clan. The next morning, he left the Huang family with Jianqin and headed for the Changyang prefecture of Lore City. Huang Wan left with Jianqin as well. Although the problem with her water spirit's body had been resolved, she still had not resolved the secret technique that the ancestor of the Huanggu clan had cast on her. During this time, Jianqin also went to find the ancestor of the Huanggu clan who was trapped in the artifact space. He wanted to learn the method of undoing the secret technique from him. However, the ancestor of the Huanggu clan was an old fox who had lived for over 2,000 years after all. He knew that the secret technique was his only method of survival. So how could he reveal it so easily? In the end, no matter what Jianqin did, he was unable to learn the method of undoing the secret technique from the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. Due to the restriction of the secret technique, Jianqin did not dare to harm the life of the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. With no other choice, he could only keep him alive for now. He would only deal with the ancestor of the Huanggu clan once he found a way to undo the secret technique in Huang Wan's head. Jianqin brought Huang Wan and Huang Tianba back to the Changyang prefecture of Lore City very quickly. Huang Tianba and Huang Wan were no longer strangers to the people of Changyang prefecture. They had known each other for many years, so they were warmly welcomed by the people of Changyang prefecture as soon as they arrived in Changyang prefecture. In particular, Jianqin's great-grandfather Baihai was a close friend of Huang Tianba. As soon as the two of them met, Huang Tianba was dragged away by Baihai to drink. Jianqin stayed in Changyang prefecture for a day. The next morning, he left Changyang prefecture with Baihai, Huang Tianba, Yangling, Huang Wan, and Changbo. They went to Mercenary City through the space gate constructed by Ruijin. Currently, they were the most trustworthy people by Jianqin's side. Although there was still Deity, Jianqin still did not completely trust Deity. As a result, he did not plan on taking Deity to Mercenary City for now. As for Changyang Zuyinkong, he was unable to increase his strength as the seal in his head remained. Otherwise, it would only harm him. "Big brother, you've finally come." As soon as Jianqin arrived at Mercenary City, Xiaoling's illusionary figure appeared before him. Perhaps it was because she had seen Jianqin, but her childish and pure face was filled with joy. Jianqin could not help but smile when he saw Xiaoling. He had already begun to treat Xiaoling as his own sister. "Xiaoling, how's Mingdong doing?" "Big brother, the 3 strange furs in your friend's hands are not simple at all. They actually contain the mysteries of the world. Xiaoling used her own power to awaken them, and with Xiaoling's hard work, your friend has finally become a saint ruler. However, he's still cultivating right now," Xiaoling said complacently. "Mingdong has become a saint ruler as well," Jianqin murmured. He felt happy for Mingdong inside. "Jianqin, who are you talking to?" A gentle voice rang out from beside him. Huang Wan hugged Jianqin's arm and asked curiously. Her bright eyes were filled with curiosity. She was not the only one. Even Huang Tianba, Baihai Yangling, and Chang Wuji stared at Jianqin in surprise. Jianqin knew that they had seen Xiaoling, but he did not explain. He said to Xiaoling, "Xiaoling, they're all Big Brother's friends and seniors. I'll trouble Xiaoling to increase their strength in the future." Xiaoling nodded obediently. "Okay, Big Brother, don't worry. Xiaoling will definitely do her best to increase their strength." With that, Xiaoling waved her arm, and Jianqin and the others immediately felt their vision darken. They had been taken underground by Xiaoling using a technique. Even Rui Jin was no exception. When Jianqin and the others regained their vision, they discovered that they had appeared in a completely sealed room. There were no gaps in the room at all. It was completely natural. There was not even a door that led outside. Jianqin studied it slightly and knew that the room was completely forged from energy. It was probably something that Xiaoling had specially prepared for Baihai and the others. "Big Brother, you can cultivate here in the future. Xiaoling will manifest the mysteries of the world for you to comprehend. But whether you can comprehend it will all depend on you." Xiaoling's illusionary figure reappeared before Jianqin, hovering in the air. This time Baihai, Huang Tianba, Yangling, Huang Wan, and Chang Wuji all looked at Xiaoling at the same time. They could see Xiaoling's figure now. "Nephew Jianqin, is she the barrier spirit of Mercenary City?" Huang Tianba could not help but ask. However, he stared at Xiaoling without blinking. His face was filled with surprise. Jianqin nodded before introducing Xiaoling to everyone. He left Huang Tianba, Baihai Yangling, and Chang Wuji behind. Jianqin also took back the 3 beast furs that he had given to Mingdong. He then gave them all to Chang Wuji, hoping that Chang Wuji could break through to Saint Ruler as soon as possible. Chang Wuji's talent was rather mediocre. He had not reached Saint Ruler even after almost 1,000 years. Due to his age, he was extremely close to the end of his lifespan. So even if Jianqin used heavenly resources, it would not be very effective. Relying on Xiaoling and the 3 beast furs in Mercenary City was Chang Wuji's final chance. If Chang Wuji still could not reach Saint Ruler with such great conditions, he would have no hope at all. Afterward, Jianqin asked Xiaoling if she could break through the secret technique in Huang Wan's head, but the result left him extremely disappointed. Xiaoling was an origin realm expert, but she was not an omnipotent god. The secret technique was an extremely profound, ancient secret technique. It was directly implanted into the soul of an opponent. Even the most powerful people would not be able to break through it unless they had the corresponding methods. Little Linkong was at returnance, so her battle prowess was extremely great. She could be said to be invincible on the Tianyuan continent. However, she was far too lazy. She had basically spent all her time sleeping since ancient times, so she knew far too few abilities and secret techniques. As a result, she was unable to do anything about the secret technique that allowed her to share life and death. If Xiaoling was compared to the sea goddess, Xiaoling's strength at returnance might be slightly greater than Poseidon's, but in terms of knowledge, as well as secret techniques, Xiaoling paled in comparison to Poseidon. Chapter 1072. Jianqin could not help but feel rather dejected when he saw how Xiaoling was unable to do anything. He sighed inside, Looks like I can only ask Senior Tianjian and the 10 protector clans in the future. I hope I can obtain the secret technique that can resolve Huang Wan's problem. Jianqin and Huang Wan remained there, comprehending the mysteries of the world that Xiaoling had created. Although Jianqin could unleash the strength of the 7th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor with his Emperor armament, his comprehension of the mysteries of the world remained at the 7th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler. As a result, he was unable to create a space gate even though he possessed the power to kill the Holy Emperor. He needed Ruijin and Blackfish to assist him from the side the entire time. Right now, Jianqin only wanted to make up for his lack of comprehension of the mysteries of the world as quickly as possible. He did not hope to comprehend the mysteries of the world to the same level as his own strength. He only hoped that he could reach the level of the Holy Emperor in the shortest amount of time possible so that he could create a space gate by himself. It had to be mentioned that Jianqin's talent was truly unprecedented. Both his cultivation speed and comprehension were extraordinary. Very soon, he was completely submerged in the mysteries of the world that Xiaoling had created, fusing with his entire soul and mind to comprehend them in detail. When ordinary people comprehended the mysteries of the world, they would use all their effort to comprehend the world. The world they comprehended was hazy, a mixture of truth and falsehood. It was like a painting that was shrouded by a layer of mist. If they wanted to benefit from it, they had to break through the mist first. Only then would they be able to see what was truly behind it. Now that Jianqin and the others had Xiaoling's assistance, they could comprehend the mysteries of the world as if they were looking at the most realistic painting. They could clearly see what was on it without the mist, illusions, or obstructions of truth and falsehood. This allowed them to avoid many detours, making it much easier for them to comprehend the mysteries of the world compared to other saint rulers. This was not spoiling things through excessive enthusiasm. Although Xiaoling had created the mysteries of the world, they still needed to comprehend, understand, and comprehend it themselves if they wanted to benefit from it. Otherwise, it would be like drawing water with a sieve. They would not benefit from it at all. Jianqin, Huang Wan, Baihai, and Huang Tianba were completely immersed in the mysteries of the world. At that moment, the 4 of them felt that the mysteries of the world were actually so close to them. In their memories, they had never comprehended the mysteries of the world at such a close distance. At that moment, they could feel that the mysteries of the world were extremely clear. It was no longer as hazy as before. In the secret room where Chang Wuji was cultivating, the 3 beast skins had already flown up by themselves. A profound aura radiated from the beast skins, slowly encircling Chang Wuji. Chang Wuji seemed like a meditating monk. He sat there without moving at all. He was completely immersed in the mysteries of the world. He felt like he had vaguely understood something, but he was unable to grasp it. Yang Ling's burly body sat on the ground quietly as well. He did not have the assistance of the beast furs, so he could only work hard to comprehend the mysteries of the world that Xiaoling had created for him if he wanted to reach sainthood. In the blink of an eye, Jianqin's group had stayed in Mercenary City for a year. Everyone had benefited greatly during that year, especially Jianqin. His comprehension of the mysteries of the world had finally reached the 8th heavenly layer, and he was still making his way toward the 9th heavenly layer. Baihai and Huang Tianba had benefited greatly as well. The 2 of them had reached the 6th and 5th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler many years ago, so they were close to the peak. Now that they had received Xiaoling's assistance, they were able to comprehend the mysteries of the world in the most direct way, so they progressed extremely quickly. They both broke through their current levels of cultivation, reaching the 7th and 6th heavenly layers, respectively. Huang Wan had only reached sainthood recently, and her strength had directly increased from the 1st heavenly layer to the 3rd heavenly layer because of Jianqin. Her foundation was nowhere near as stable as Huang Tianba and Baihai's, so her strength did not increase during the year of cultivation. However, it was not like she did not benefit at all. She had benefited greatly during the year of cultivation. Although she was still at the third heavenly layer of Saint Ruler, her comprehension of the mysteries of the world had increased by quite a lot. She was making her way toward the fourth heavenly layer of Saint Ruler. Yang Ling and Chang Wuji remained the same as they had been a year ago. They did not seem to have made any progress. At the same time, a huge divine hall hovered above the Tianyuan continent in the cold, dark outer space. It was majestic and grand. The divine hall was completely white. It shone with a bright light, illuminating the dark space nearby. Inside the shrine, there was a majestic hall on the top floor. A huge throne was floating 3 meters high in the air, surrounded by a layer of moonlight power that could be seen with the naked eye. It emitted a gentle light, dyeing the entire hall white. On the huge throne, Yu Yu held the moon god's scepter in her hand as she sat cross-legged with her eyes closed. Waves of powerful energy undulations were emitted from her body from time to time. The moonlight energy surrounding the huge throne was endlessly absorbed into Yu Yu's body, causing Yu Yu's aura to continuously strengthen. Jianqin and the others cultivated with the help of Xiao Ling's comprehension of the mysteries of the world in the depths of Mercenary City. Yu Yu did not remain idle either. She remained in the empty divine hall all by herself, silently enduring the boredom and loneliness as she worked hard to increase her strength. Yu Yu's body had been modified by Fairy Haoyue's pure moon essence. At the same time, she cultivated a cultivation method that surpassed the saint tier, the moon god's treasured reflection. Her rate of improvement was no slower than Huang Wan's water spirit's body, which only appeared once in 100,000 years. In just a year, Yu Yu had reached the 4th cycle. In just half a year, Yu Yu would become a 6th cycle Heaven Saint Master. Blackfish, Honglian, Kara, and Khazar Jinxiong, who had been drained of all their strength in the Bright Moon Divine Hall a year ago, had recovered to their peak condition after absorbing a large amount of energy from the monster cores. Kara and Khazar Jinxiong had left the artifact space half a year ago. After bidding farewell to Jianqin, they directly returned to their clans. Kara Li Wei, who had been staying in the Saint Artifact space, also left the Saint Artifact space. First, she congratulated Sima Yu Yu on obtaining the Bright Moon Divine Hall. Then, she followed her clan's ancestor, Kara Luo, back to the Kara clan. However, when the matter of the Bright Moon Divine Hall was brought up, Kara Li Wei's expression was filled with envy. Rui Jin, Blackfish, and Honglian all remained in the artifact space. The 3 of them had reached great perfection of the Holy Emperor, and they were only a step away from the Holy Emperor. This step required them to work hard. The mysteries of the world that Xiao Ling had conjured were of no help to them. Within the territory of the Karl Empire, there was a mountain range that was enveloped by poisonous gas all year round. The mountain range was extremely famous in the Karl Empire, where almost every household knew about it. This was not only because it had existed in the empire for over 100,000 years, but also because the mountain range had claimed the lives of countless adventurous mercenaries and experts. Even hermit saint rulers had died in the mountain range before. As time went on, the mountain range became a forbidden ground in the eyes of countless mercenaries and experts of the Karl Empire. It was even given the name of the Soul-Bearing Mountain. The Soul-Bearing Mountain was not deathly silent. Instead, it was filled with life. Countless green plants and towering trees that had existed for hundreds or even thousands of years grew there. There would be 1 or 2 magical beasts leaping through the dense forest from time to time. It seemed no different from a regular forest. However, the only difference was that the soul-bearing mountain was filled with poison. The poison was present everywhere. Not only was it present in all the plants, but even the soil was poisonous. It was fatal to Earth Saint Masters. At the same time, the poison became more and more intense as one ventured deeper into the mountain range. In the end, even Heaven Saint Masters would struggle to resist it. All the magical beasts that lived there were extremely powerful poisonous beasts without exception. At this moment, There was a barren mountain in the depths of the soul-burying mountain. A vast amount of poisonous gas gathered around the mountain. It was so dense that it had almost liquefied. Even the high-class beasts that lived there did not dare to approach it. The interior of the mountain was a huge space that had been hollowed out. Fist-sized luminous pearls were embedded in the ceiling of the cave. They shone brightly, illuminating the dark interior of the mountain. In the center of the mountain, a middle-aged man in his 40s was sitting cross-legged, like a stone sculpture. He wore a black robe and was wearing a black robe. The middle-aged man's appearance was average. He had a resolute expression, and the muscles on his face looked a little stiff. It was as if this was a face that never smiled, which added a sense of righteousness to it. On the middle-aged man's forehead, there was a very eye-catching scar. It was ferocious and terrifying, and it ran across his entire forehead, causing people to tremble in fear. Beside the middle-aged man was a sword that was around a meter long. It was stabbed into the ground. Although the sword seemed ordinary, it radiated with a tremendous pressure, causing people to shiver. Suddenly, the middle-aged man's closed eyes snapped open. Immediately, two strange lights shot out from his eyes. One of his eyes was sharp, bright, and filled with determination, while the other shone with a demonic light. The light in his eyes flickered as if a will-o'-the-wisp was leaping about. Chapter 1073. The middle-aged man suddenly stood up, and immediately a tremendous presence radiated from his body. It turned into a visible force that surged through the surroundings, causing the mountain to tremble slightly. Venerable Poison's word, don't worry. I'm not someone who goes back on my word. I'll definitely do what I've promised you. Once I've avenged the Bai family, my body will belong to you. I won't resist at all. The middle-aged man's eyes were filled with determination. He was ready to face death with equanimity. Keek, keek, good, good, good. I trust you, but I hope you can move faster. Don't make me wait for too long. The unpleasant, hoarse voice rang out in Bai Dao's head once again. It seemed to be impatient. Bai Dao said nothing more. With a wave of his hand, the sword stabbed into the ground beside him immediately erupted with an extremely great force, viciously slamming into the mountain. With a boom, the entire mountain collapsed. It had actually been pulverized by the supreme force that had erupted from the sword. My dwelling! My dwelling! Bai Dao, you brat! Do you know that this is the dwelling that I built with great difficulty all those years ago? Why Venerable Poison's word, you'll be able to see the light of day again soon. Do you still care about a mere dwelling? Bai Dao said coldly without any expression. He clenched his hand and gripped the sword beside him tightly. The sword was no ordinary weapon. It was the heaven-quaking sword, a saint weapon left behind by the Holy Emperor at the 9th heavenly layer. It was the saint weapon of Venerable Poison's word, a peak expert who had shaken up the continent 5,000 years ago. Venerable Poison's word immediately fell silent when he heard Bai Dao's words. Bai Dao remained silent, holding the heaven-quaking sword in one hand. He immediately shot off like a cannonball, charging into the sky in a single moment. After determining the direction, he shot off into the distance with lightning speed. He was instantly submerged in the dense, poisonous mist. Hellfire City was a king-level city within the Karl Empire. Both in terms of scale, area, and prosperity, it was only second to the 7 capital cities of the Tianyuan continent. Hellfire City had a history of tens of thousands of years in the Karl Empire. Its walls were made entirely of fine iron and were extremely sturdy. They could effortlessly defend against the attacks of Class 5 magical beasts. Throughout history, these sturdy walls of Hellfire City had withstood over 100 waves of magical beasts. Each time, they would emerge unscathed. There were several tens of millions of people living in Hellfire City. In addition to the daily flow of people, The total number of people living in Hellfire City was close to 100 million. With such a large population, it was only natural that there would be many experts in Hellfire City, as well as many clans and forces of various sizes. The Blood Cloud clan was the most powerful clan in Hellfire City right now. It used to be the second most powerful clan in the city, but ever since the Bai family was wiped out in a single night 50 years ago, the Blood Cloud clan had completely replaced the Bai family's position in the city, becoming the undisputed #1 clan in the city. This was because there was a new saint ruler in the Blood Cloud clan. This saint ruler was not the ancestor of the clan. Instead, he was a prodigious junior of the clan. With his great talent, he had become a saint ruler in just a few hundred years and had even become the disciple of an imperial protector of the Karl Empire. He was greatly valued and was nurtured as a future pillar of the empire. As a result, the Blood Cloud clan status in Hellfire City was like the midday sun. They were revered by everyone. Suddenly, a tremendous presence appeared outside the city. A figure had already turned into a faint blur, flying over the walls of the city at an extremely low altitude. He directly flew into the city and did not slow down all. He flew toward the center of the city with a pressuring presence, alarming countless people along the way. The figure flew over half of Hellfire City in a high-profile manner before finally landing in front of a large mansion at the very center of the city. This mansion was where the #1 clan of Hellfire City, the Blood Cloud clan, resided. This figure wore a black robe and exuded a powerful aura. It was so oppressive that it was difficult to breathe. His long hair and black robe fluttered without any wind. He stared at the mansion in front of him in a daze. His eyes revealed a look of reminiscence, mixed with deep sorrow. The 4 burly guards at the entrance of the Blood Cloud clan glanced at the black-robed figure in fear. Without saying anything else, they immediately ran back to the clan to report the situation. They did not dare to stay a single moment longer. The tremendous presence from the black-robed figure made them shiver in fear, causing their legs to tremble. Over the years, they had seen many experts, but this was the first time they had felt such a powerful aura. This aura contained a great pressure, and the guards felt as if their souls were about to be crushed by this aura. Before the guards could report, all the experts of the Blood Cloud clan sensed the terrifying presence from outside. Immediately, a vigorous but extremely polite voice rang out from within the clan. "May I ask which senior has come as a guest to my Blood Cloud clan?" "I am the patriarch of the Blood Cloud clan, Yuzixing. I represent all the members of the clan in welcoming senior." With that, a handsome middle-aged man in golden robes slowly walked out from within the clan. Although the middle-aged man walked at a steady pace, he crossed several dozen meters with each step. In just a dozen steps, he arrived before the entrance, bowing to the black-robed figure politely. Yuzixing. He was the prodigy of the Blood Cloud clan, who had reached Saint Ruler in less than 1,000 years. He had become the disciple of an imperial protector of the Karl Empire, so he was greatly valued. At the same time, he was the patriarch of the Blood Cloud clan. Soon after, figures flickered within the clan. Several Heaven Saint Masters and a group of Earth Saint Masters arrived from all directions. They all stood behind Yuzixing and sternly studied the black-robed figure who radiated with such a tremendous presence. They had no idea why he had come. The black-robed man stood ramrod straight, like a javelin in front of the entrance of the Blood Cloud clan. His eyes were absent-minded as he stared at the golden plaque with the words Blood Cloud clan written on it. His expression was extremely complicated. There was reminiscence, pain, and anger. "I've been gone for 50 years. I never thought that Hellfire City would have changed so much. That glorious clan of the past has already become a memory of the past. Now it's completely different. Not a single memory remains," the black-robed figure murmured to himself. The sorrow in his eyes became heavier and heavier. In the end, it rapidly turned into an ice-cold, killing intent. At that moment, the reminiscence and pain in his eyes vanished, becoming abnormally cold. Suddenly, the black-robed figure stabbed the sword in his hand into the ground. Immediately, a terrifying storm of energy erupted from the sword. As if it was under someone's control, it charged toward the Blood Cloud clan with an unstoppable force. Senior, what is the meaning of this? The prodigy of the Blood Cloud clan, Yuzixing, paled in fright. He immediately retreated while Saint Force surged out from his body, forming a barrier that protected him and the experts behind him. Under the impact of the terrifying energy storm, Yuzixing and the others did not suffer the slightest bit of damage. However, the Blood Cloud clan's gate and walls were not spared. They collapsed one after another and were quickly submerged in the smoke and dust that filled the sky. Even the plaque made entirely of purple gold hanging above the gate fell down. The black-robed man took a step forward and punched the purple gold plaque that had yet to fall to the ground, shattering the incomparably hard plaque into pieces. More and more people gathered in the Blood Cloud clan. Many guards and clansmen had arrived. They all hid behind Yuzixing as they stared at the collapsed walls and doors in shock. The disturbance from the Blood Cloud clan obviously alarmed the people in the surroundings. Very soon, many people gathered in the surroundings to watch the show. There were even a few Heaven Saint Masters who hovered several hundred meters in the air, watching from afar. Yuzixing's face became extremely ugly. He asked with a heavy voice, "I am Yuzixing. My master is Mo Jian, Imperial Protector. Senior, may I ask how my Blood Cloud clan has offended you? Please enlighten me." The black-robed figure's gaze finally landed on Yuzixing. His gaze was cold and emotionless. He said, "Do you know who I am?" Yuzixing carefully studied the black-robed figure. A sliver of confusion appeared in his eyes. He said, "Junior is ignorant, so I hope Senior can forgive me. I hope Senior can enlighten me." Yuzixing did not dare to be rude, because he had already determined that the black-robed man in front of him was a peerless powerhouse whose strength was comparable to his master. If he offended such a person, perhaps even his master would not be able to protect him. "My name is Bai Dao," the black-robed figure said emotionlessly. Yuzixing immediately shuddered when he heard the name. Shock filled his face as he cried out, "What? Your surname is Bai. Are you a member of the Bai family?" Yuzixing's heart churned as a great fear spread through him. This was because the estate of the Blood Cloud clan had been built where the Bai family used to be. 50 years ago, the news of the Bai family being wiped out in a single night had shaken up the entire Hellfire City. Now, not only had the Blood Cloud clan replaced the Bai family as the greatest clan in the city, they had even taken over the ruins of the Bai family. If this terrifying person from the Bai family misunderstood that the destruction of the Bai family had something to do with the Blood Cloud clan, Yuzixing really did not dare to imagine what kind of impact the Blood Cloud clan would suffer. Chapter 1074. By Dao's right I became rather demonic, as if a will-o'-the-wisp was leaping about. He then took a step forward and arrived before Yuzixing in an instant. The heaven-quaking sword in his hand pressed down on Yuzixing's shoulder with a great pressure. He said, "Speak, who was responsible for the massacre of my Bai family all those years ago?" I don't know. Senior, I really don't know. That matter has nothing to do with our Blood Cloud clan." Yuzixing trembled in fear. The pressure from the king weapon seemed to have invaded his soul, making him lose all will to resist at that moment. Although he was a saint ruler, he had only just broken through. He was still a first heavenly layer saint ruler. A powerful killing intent flashed through Bai Dao's eyes. He said, "Since you don't know, what's the point of keeping you alive?" Without giving Yuzixing a chance to explain himself, the heaven-quaking sword swung down, directly cutting off Yuzixing's head. At the same time, a powerful energy shot out from the heaven-quaking sword, entering Yuzixing's head and obliterating his soul. A genius saint ruler had died just like that. By Dao's right eye desperately flickered. "God damn it, you brat, why did you kill him? Didn't you hear that his master was the imperial protector of the Karl Empire? Yai. Dao's expression did not change at all. He ignored Venerable Poison Sword's roar and slowly glanced past the estate. He murmured, "This place belongs to the Bai family, and it will always be. No one can take this sacred ground away from me. I'll kill anyone who tries to take it away." Bai Dao spoke very softly, but it was filled with killing intent. Every single person in the Blood Cloud clan heard him clearly. Afterward, he coldly glanced past the people of the Blood Cloud clan and continued, "I'll spare the life of whoever tells me who is responsible for the destruction of the Bai family." All the people of the Blood Cloud clan paled as their legs trembled. They were utterly terrified. None of them dared to say anything. Yu Zixing was a hermit saint ruler, yet his soul had been wiped out in such a fragile manner. This was a very great blow to their morale. Bai Dao's eyes filled with killing intent. He murmured, "Since you don't know, you can all go die." Bai Dao slowly raised the heaven-quaking sword before swinging it down. Boom! Boom, boom, boom! A series of loud explosions rang out from the center of Hellfire City. The #1 clan of Hellfire City, the Blood Cloud clan, had been annihilated in an instant. Not a single person was left alive. They followed the same fate as the Bai family back then. That luxurious mansion had already been turned into ruins. Boom! S is in the ruins of the Blood Cloud clan. The black-robed Bai Dao stood with his arms crossed as he stared at the ground in a daze. His eyes were empty as he reminisced about the past, as if he was trying his best to remember the past. The king weapon, the heaven-quaking sword, was stabbed into a tough rock beside him. It radiated with an invisible pressure, causing all the people in the surroundings to tremble in fear. No one dared to approach it. They watched from afar as they discussed with each other in low voices. Behind Bai Dao stood a huge stone pillar that seemed to reach into the sky. A row of large words had been carved onto it. "Descendant of the Bai family has returned with the beast fur. Come take it if you want." A powerful clan that could rival a hermit clan had actually been wiped out in a single moment. This was probably nothing special on the Tianyuan continent, where conflict raged on a daily basis, but it caused an uproar in Hellfire City. After hearing that the Blood Cloud clan had been wiped out, the city lord immediately hurried over from his estate with a group of personal guards. However, he only hid in the crowd and watched from afar, not daring to show himself. Especially when he saw the ruins of the Blood Cloud clan, there was no need to mention how terrified he was. All the large clans in Hellfire City arrived where the Blood Cloud clan had been. Without any exception, all of them hid far away as they stared at the black figure in the ruins in fear. At that moment, the black figure seemed like a demon from hell in their eyes. He was just so terrifying. The thick stone pillar in the center of the ruins became the focus of everyone's attention. When they saw the bold words engraved on the pillar, many people immediately guessed Bai Dao's identity. He was actually a member of the Bai family that had been wiped out 50 years ago. An old man in dragon robes and a crown sat in his study in the imperial palace of the Karl Empire as he read with great interest. Although he was the only one in the quiet study, there was only him. There was only one person, but in a few empty corners, a huge aura could be felt from time to time. The old man was the king of the Karl Empire. Although he was not powerful, he possessed great authority. The way the Karl Empire was governed was different from the Holy Emperor Empire. The empire seemed to be ruled by the imperial family on the surface, but it was actually secretly controlled by the 3 great clans. The imperial family was only a puppet in the hands of the 3 great clans. Even the throne of the Holy Emperor Empire was rotated between the 3 great clans. The Karl Empire, on the other hand, was a powerful empire completely ruled by the imperial family, just like the Felicity Empire. At this moment, the space beside His Majesty the King fluctuated slightly. A black-clothed man covered in a black robe silently appeared in the study and respectfully handed over the item in his hand. He respectfully handed over a secret letter and said, "Your Majesty, This is an urgent letter from Hellfire City. The king raised his eyes and slowly put down the book in his hand. He began to read the letter, and a while later he frowned slightly. The Blood Cloud clan of Hellfire City has actually been destroyed. Even Yu Zixing is dead. Yu Zixing became a saint ruler in just 500 years, so it's extremely likely that he'll become the Holy Emperor in the future. Sigh, it's a pity that such a genius has died so early. The king folded the letter again and passed it to the black-clothed person beside him. He said, "Go, give this letter to Mo Jian, Imperial Protector." "Yes, Your Majesty," the black-clothed person replied politely before vanishing with the letter. Behind the Karl Empire, in the forbidden area of the palace, an old man in a white robe with a face full of wrinkles was sitting cross-legged on a prayer mat with his eyes closed. The old man looked very ordinary. Other than the expensive robe he was wearing, there was nothing eye-catching about him. "Esteemed Imperial Protector, Shrouded One has come under the orders of His Majesty to deliver a secret letter to the esteemed Imperial Protector." Suddenly, a respectful and rather emotionless voice rang out from outside. "Come in." The old man on the cushion did not open his eyes as he spoke with his old voice. The door opened, and the black-clothed man from before walked in with his head lowered and back-bowed. He respectfully handed the secret letter that the king had read to the old man. The old man slowly opened his eyes. His gaze was deep like the vast starry sky. He slowly raised his hand to accept the letter, opened it, and began to read it. However, in the next moment, the old man's face suddenly changed. His indifferent gaze sharpened at that moment. 2 streaks of light actually shot out from his eyes like 2 sharp swords. It was extremely terrifying, causing the space before him to tremble slightly. Yu Zixing was actually killed in Hellfire City. Preposterous, preposterous. Who is so daring to even kill my disciple? Mo Jian's voice was filled with anger. The old man flew into a rage and suddenly stood up from the futon. The secret letter in his hand had already been shattered into pieces. "Humph, old man, I'd like to see who's bold enough to not show me any respect in the Karl Empire." The old man's face was pale white. With a wave of his hand, space was immediately ripped open. A crack quickly formed into a space gate. With a single step, the old man vanished. In Hellfire City, the black-clothed Bai Dao stood like a statue in the ruins of the Blood Cloud clan. He did not move for quite some time. More and more people gathered 1,000 meters away from him. All of them pointed at the ruins of the Blood Cloud clan as they discussed. The Bai family that had almost been forgotten by everyone 50 years ago was slowly being remembered once more. A descendant of the Bai family has returned with a piece of beast fur. Those who want it, come and take it. Is it someone from the Bai family that was wiped out back then? Is it related to that beast fur? A descendant of the Bai family has returned in such a high-profile manner. He probably wants to draw out the vicious beast that wiped out the Bai family back then and take revenge for his family. But just what level of cultivation has this descendant of the Bai family reached? Even a saint ruler like Yu Zixing isn't his opponent. That's just too terrifying. Discussions like this constantly rang out in the crowd. The words that Bai Dao had carved on the stone pillar had answered many people's questions. Suddenly, a multicolored space gate appeared above the Blood Cloud clan. Before the person had even arrived, a presence that blotted out the surroundings filled the surroundings. It swept out in a mighty manner, actually enveloping the entire Hellfire City. Everyone in the city stopped what they were doing at that moment. They all stared at the sky in shock. Although many of them could not see the space gate in the sky, they could sense where the presence came from. Bai Dao finally to move from where he stood like a statue in the ruins of the Blood Cloud clan. He slowly raised his head and glared at the space gate in the sky. His face did not change at all. Chapter 10:75. Bai Dao's eyes shone with a different light. He did not seem to hear Venerable Poison Sword's exasperated words at all. The voice stared expressionlessly at the spatial door in the sky. That one eye, which could be considered normal, revealed a somewhat grave expression. The boulder that the sword was stuck in suddenly exploded. An extremely dense energy wrapped around the sword, which was only 3 fingers wide. After shattering the boulder, it flew into Bai Dao's hand as if it had a mind of its own. The earth-shattering aura wreaked havoc in the surroundings. Finally, a white-robed old man with a face covered in wrinkles slowly walked out of the spatial gate. Immediately, an incomparably domineering aura radiated from his body, deeply intimidating everyone in Hellfire City. It was as if a peerless king had descended. The old man looked down from above. His face was cold and arrogant. His eyes shone brightly as he stared at Bai Dao in the ruins. He growled, "Who are you? Why did you kill my disciple?" Bai Dao showed no fear. He stared at the old man and asked emotionlessly, "You're Yu Zixing's master, the imperial protector of the Karl Empire, Emo Jian?" "That's right, I'm old man," Emo Jian coldly replied. Bai Dao's eyes were icy cold as he said, "The land beneath my feet belongs to my Bai family. No one can take it away from me. I'll kill anyone who tries." Emo Jian slightly frowned when he heard that. He glanced at Bai Dao in disbelief and growled, "You're a member of the Bai family?" The Bai family was a powerful clan that possessed a saint ruler in the past, so Emo Jian had heard of them before. However, what he did not understand was when such an expert had appeared in the Bai family. Yes, Bai Dao's expression did not change at all. Emo Jian shivered. "Since you're a member of the Bai family, you're a member of my Karl Empire. Technically speaking, you're not an outsider. However, you need to give old man an explanation for killing my disciple, Yu Zixing." "If you want an explanation, I'll give you one," Bai Dao said with a deep voice. A tremendous battle intent surged from his body, surging into the sky and causing the clouds to churn. The heaven-quaking sword in his hand erupted with a shocking sword chi as well. "Bai Dao, you brat, my strength is nowhere near my peak right now. I can't afford to waste it like this. Don't resist and let me take control of your body. We need to end this battle quickly, or once I run out of energy, we'll both die." Venerable Poison Sword's voice rang out in Bai Dao's head. Bai Dao said nothing. He slowly lowered his head. At that moment, no one noticed that the light in Bai Dao's left eye was rapidly fading away, becoming hollow in the blink of an eye. However, a strange light suddenly appeared in his left eye. It flickered and was filled with an evil presence. Right now, both of Bai Dao's eyes had become evil, as if two willow. The wisps were leaping about in them. Suddenly, Bai Dao's body shot up from the ground, shooting into the sky like a rocket. The heaven-quaking sword in his hand also erupted with a bright green light. This was an extremely potent poison. Not only was Venerable Poison's word powerful, but he was also an expert in poison as well. Not only that, he was an expert skilled in using poison. The poison he controlled was no weaker than Nubis' poison. The imperial protector of the Karl Empire, Emo Jian, could not help but frown when he saw how resolute Bai Dao was. He actually wanted to fight as hard as he could. Although Yu Zixing was his disciple, there was no master-disciple relationship between them. Emo Jian was indeed extremely furious when he heard that Yu Zixing had been killed, but that was mostly because of his pride. After all, his disciple had been killed in the territory of the Karl Empire. It was basically a provocation and an insult to him. Back then, Emo Jian believed that the person who had killed Yu Zixing was a saint ruler, which was why he had hurried over furiously. However, when he arrived in Hellfire City, he discovered that the person who had killed Yu Zixing was actually a holy emperor. His thoughts of avenging his disciple immediately dissipated by a lot. He would not offend a holy emperor for no good reason for the sake of someone he had no feelings for as a disciple, especially when the holy emperor was from the Karl Empire and had destroyed the Blood Cloud clan for revenge. As a result, Emo Jian decided not to pursue this matter any further. He had only asked Bai Dao for an explanation so that he could find a way out of this embarrassing situation. However, he had never thought that not only would Bai Dao refuse to cooperate, he would even force him into a corner. Heaven-quaking sword, Cloud Piercer! Without giving Mo Jian any time to prepare, Bai Dao struck out first. With a bellow, the heaven-quaking sword in his hand immediately surged with poison. Dense green light completely enveloped the sword before stabbing out with a tremendous amount of energy. With a stab, the heaven-quaking sword instantly disappeared into the void. However, in the next moment, it strangely appeared in front of Imperial Protector Mo Jian. The powerful poison and terrifying energy perfectly merged into one, mercilessly stabbing towards Imperial Protector Mo Jian. Mo Jian immediately became stern. He could clearly sense just how powerful the attack was, which left him extremely shocked. Only at that moment did he suddenly realize that while Bai Dao's presence was fluctuating, his strength was no weaker than his own. He could even sense the mysteries of the world that far exceeded the fifth heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor from the attack, which left him even more shocked. Without any hesitation, Mo Jian drew his saint weapon as quickly as he could. His weapon was a huge, single-handed sword that was as wide as a palm. As soon as it appeared, the vast amount of energy within him surged into it. He stabbed out with all his strength, colliding with the heaven-quaking sword. Boom! With a deafening boom, the two terrifying energies collided violently in the air. Space was instantly torn apart, forming a black hole with a diameter of over 30 meters. The entire sky shook violently. After the attack, the heaven-quaking sword turned around and flew back into Bai Dao's hand. On the other hand, Mo Jian's body violently trembled as his expression immediately became rather ugly. Although he was not injured from blocking Bai Dao's attack, he was at a disadvantage. At the same time, a powerful poison gas had entered his body. He had never seen this poison gas before, but it was extremely powerful, forcing him to suppress it with 50% of his strength. Bai Dao stood in the air emotionlessly with the heaven-quaking sword in hand. The light in his eyes constantly pulsed. He coldly said, "I wonder if this is enough. If it's not, I'll give you an even more satisfying explanation." Mo Jian stared at Bai Dao in shock. He stared into Bai Dao's eyes. His instincts told him that there was something strange about the person before him, but he was unable to pinpoint the exact reason. Mo Jian took a deep breath and slowly calmed himself down. After a moment of silence, he had no choice but to pull a long face and say, "Sir, you are also from the Karl Empire. My Karl Empire has once again gained such a strong person. This is truly a cause for celebration. As for that useless disciple of mine, he dared to occupy your family's territory. He was simply asking for trouble and deserved to die." Mo Jian had already admitted defeat. From the previous exchange of blows, he already knew that he was definitely not the opponent of the person in front of him. Offending such a strong enemy for a person who did not have the slightest bit of relationship as master and disciple was really not a wise choice. Mo Jian paused slightly before continuing to speak to Bai Dao. "Sir, your strength is extraordinary, and you're also a member of the Karl Empire. If you're willing, you can come to the Imperial Palace at any time to take up the position of Imperial Protector." With that, Mo Jian no longer stayed. He turned around and flew off into the distance. Hold on. Just who was bold enough to wipe out the Bai family all those years ago? Bai Dao coldly asked. Mo Jian paused. He glanced back at the huge stone pillar in the ruins and said, "I've been cultivating in the palace all year round and haven't interfered with the affairs of the world for several hundred years. If you want to find your enemy, you can go to the palace and find the king. I think he'll be very willing to help you." Mo Jian hurriedly left through the space gate while Bai Dao descended from the sky, returning to the ruins. The flickering light in his eyes slowly calmed down. In the end, his gaze sharpened. "Brat, you better be more careful when you do things in the future. Just that alone took up 20% of my strength. If it weren't for the fact that I had the foresight to deter that person with my absolute strength, I probably would still be tangled up with that person. If the battle had continued for a long time, I would have lost without a doubt. Venerable Poison Sword's exasperated voice rang out in Bai Dao's head. Bai Dao said nothing. Instead, he focused on his dantian. A thumb-sized pearl silently hovered there. The pearl was completely condensed from energy, so the energy hidden within was extremely terrifying. The pearl contained Venerable Poison Sword's power. It had been sealed in there using a special method, so the Venerable could use it as he wished, while Bai Dao could use a small portion of it. However, once the energy within the pearl was depleted, it would be very difficult to replenish. Compared to before, the energy sealed within was indeed 20% less. Bai Dao did not go to the imperial palace of the Karl Empire. Instead, he waited silently in the ruins. His instincts told him that those people would definitely come. In the blink of an eye, night had fallen. The entire sky was shrouded in darkness. In an extremely remote place on the Tianyuan continent, a huge, pitch-black palace stood silently in a mountain range. It gave off a cold presence, as if the palace was the residence of a demon. It was hair-raising. Yama, a descendant of the Bai family, has appeared in Hellfire City of the Karl Empire. He has carved the words "Return" with the beast fur on a stone pillar. Please make your decision. A hazy voice rang out from the dark palace. It was filled with an evil presence. What? A person of the Bai family has returned to Hellfire City with the beast fur? Is that true? A hoarse voice rang out from the pitch-black palace. It sounded like the howl of a ghost. It's absolutely true. However, the person of the Bai family seems to be very powerful. He fought against an imperial protector of the Karl Empire in Hellfire City and remained undefeated. Chapter 1076. In the blink of an eye, 7 days had already passed since the destruction of the Blood Cloud clan in Hellfire City. During those 7 days, the matter of Hellfire City had spread like wildfire across the entire Karl Empire. In particular, the descendant of the Bai family who had wiped out the Blood Cloud clan in less than 10 minutes had become the focus of everyone's attention. With that, various rumors regarding the descendant of the Bai family and the destruction of the Bai family began to spread, filling the entire Karl Empire. The imperial family of the Karl Empire did not make any response to the destruction of the Blood Cloud clan. Ever since Imperial Protector Mo Jian had visited a few days ago, there had been no activity at all. They clearly did not want to interfere with Bai Dao's matters. After all, Bai Dao was a member of the Karl Empire, and he was a supreme expert on par with the Holy Emperor. He was someone the imperial family wanted to rope in, so why would they offend over a dead saint ruler? During those 7 days, Bai Dao remained in the ruins of the Blood Cloud clan without moving at all. He did not take a single step away from the place. The heaven-quaking sword was stabbed into the ground beside him. Although its glow was concealed and it seemed extremely ordinary, the invisible pressure it gave off still existed. It slowly permeated the surroundings, causing the heaven-quaking sword to become anything but ordinary. There were still a large number of people gathered around the ruins of the Blood Cloud clan, watching from afar. In the past few days, these people had come and gone. There were even a large number of people who had come from far away just to catch a glimpse of the Saint Emperor. Very soon, darkness enveloped the land once more. The bustling city gradually quieted down, and the people gathered around the ruins of the Blood Cloud clan all dispersed. Only the black-robed Bai Dao remained standing there tirelessly. At this moment, Bai Dao could not help but think of a few matters of the past. The faces of the descendants of the Bai family appeared in his head one by one, causing his cold gaze to soften slightly. So many years have passed. I wonder how Xiangtian is doing. He's the only descendant of my Bai family. I hope he's still alive. Little sister, after this big brother avenges the annihilation of his clan, I will search for the enemies who killed you. Even if I have to search to the ends of the earth, this big brother will definitely find them and use their blood to pay tribute to your heroic spirit. Little sister, rest in peace. This big brother will not let you die in vain." Bai Dao was filled with deep sorrow. When the Bai family was destroyed back then, only he and his sister, Bai Yuntian, had managed to escape. Now that Bai Yuntian was dead, he was the only direct descendant of the Bai family. Suddenly, a feeling of loneliness appeared in Bai Dao's heart. At that moment, he felt extremely lonely, as if he was the only person of the glorious Bai family. In the past few years, he had remained in the soul-bearing mountain that was enveloped by poison all year round. He had only emerged a few days ago, so he had no idea what had happened on the Tianyuan continent. Even now, he still did not know that his sister, Bai Yuntian, had been revived by Jianqin and that his nephew was no longer the puny saint ruler of the past. Instead, he had become the renowned holy emperor. Suddenly, an icy breeze blew past. In that instant, all the sounds in the surroundings seemed to vanish without a trace. Hellfire City, which was shrouded in darkness, seemed to have become a deathly silent ghost city. Bai Dao's head immediately cleared up. He dismissed the stray thoughts in his head as well. He slowly raised his head and looked around emotionlessly. 10 figures had silently appeared in the surroundings at some point in time. Their bodies seemed to have fused with the darkness. Although they stood there openly, it was extremely easy for people to overlook them. It was very difficult to sense their existence. The 10 figures that seemed to have fused with the darkness stood there silently. None of them said anything, nor did they give off any presences at all. The atmosphere was rather strange. Extremely heavy killing intent immediately appeared in Bai Dao's eyes when he saw the 10 people surrounding him. He could still clearly remember that on the night of the Bai family's destruction several decades ago, it was done by a group of people dressed in the same way as them. "You've finally come. I've been waiting for you for many days already." Bai Dao's voice was extremely cold. Bai Dao's voice was extremely frigid. A powerful killing intent radiated from his body without any attempt to hide it. He slowly pulled out the heaven-quaking sword from the ground as it radiated with a great pressure. None of the 10 men said anything, but their exposed eyes all landed on the heaven-quaking sword in Bai Dao's hand. Some greed appeared in their cold eyes. "Speak. Who are you, and what organization do you belong to?" Bai Dao continued when he saw how the people remained silent. The 10 people stood there silently. Their bodies seemed to have fused with the darkness. None of them answered Bai Dao's question. "No wonder we didn't find the beast fur after destroying the Bai family." So there were still survivors of the Bai family who managed to escape with it. At this moment, a hoarse voice rang out from nowhere. It was impossible to tell where the voice came from. One of Bai Dao's eyes began to flicker violently as he stared straight ahead. Right in front of him, in the originally empty night, a humanoid shadow slowly appeared, appearing in a very strange manner. "Just who are you?" Bai Dao stared at the black figure. Through his instincts, he could tell that the person before him was the leader. "Survivors of the Bai family. If you want to know who we are, hand over the beast fur first," the black figure sneered. Killing intent surged in Bai Dao's eyes. He coldly said, "If you want the beast fur, then take it from me. However, you probably don't have the ability to do that with just you." With that, the heaven-quaking sword in Bai Dao's hand immediately erupted with a dazzling green light. Powerful poison and terrifying energy fused together perfectly, erupting from the sword. Swish! Bai Dao stabbed out with lightning-like speed, directly targeting the person who seemed to be the leader. "It really is the Holy Emperor!" the black figure exclaimed. The black-clothed man let out a low cry of surprise, and his eyes instantly became serious. With a flip of his hand, a small black dagger appeared in his hand. The dagger was only the size of a palm, and it emitted a thick black light. Through the black light, one could vaguely see a cold light flashing. "Kiss of the venomous scorpion!" the black figure called out, and the dagger immediately shot out as a blur. With a violent boom, the dagger collided with the heaven-quaking sword. The sound of the explosion shook up the entire city. Countless people who had fallen asleep were roused from their slumber. In just a few seconds, the dark city had been lit up by countless candles, illuminating it. Bai Dao and the black figure were on par with each other in this clash. Bastard of the Bai family, you are indeed very powerful, but you can't keep the beast fur. If you know what's good for you, hand it over obediently and I'll spare your life. Otherwise, this day next year will be the anniversary of your death, the black figure sneered. Bai Dao said nothing. He gripped the heaven-quaking sword tightly in his right hand as Venerable Poison Sword's voice rang out in his head. Brat, you won't be able to defeat him even if you exhaust all my energy. Let me take care of him. The light in Bai Dao's eyes became strange once more. He relinquished control of his body, handing it over to Venerable Poison's word once more. An indescribable presence immediately radiated from Venerable Poison's word as soon as he took control of Bai Dao's body. He seemed to have fused with the surroundings, becoming a part of the world. A mere fourth heavenly layer, Holy Emperor, dares to act so arrogantly? You're looking to die. Venerable Poison's word sneered in disdain. He slowly raised the heaven-quaking sword and stabbed out. Not only did this stab contain a powerful energy and poison, but it also contained the profound mysteries of the world. Not only did Venerable Poison's word use much less energy to stab out the same as Bai Dao's attack, but its power was several times greater. Illusory waves! The eyes of the black figure became even more stern. With a deep bellow, the dagger in his hand danced wildly, forming a string of blurs that filled the space before him. They shot out as strands of energy. However, when these powerful strength chis came into contact with the heaven-quaking sword, they all dissipated into thin air with a series of explosions. The heaven-quaking sword was like an indestructible divine sword as it advanced forward like a hot knife through butter. In an instant, it arrived in front of the black-clothed man and pierced through his chest. The black figure bellowed out and immediately retreated. He removed the heaven-quaking sword from his chest and yelled out, "Ten Kings slash!" The eyes of the 10 black figures in the surroundings changed. Every single one of them radiated with a tremendous presence, which intertwined with each other. Then they intertwined in midair, forming an even more powerful aura. Then the 10 of them simultaneously took out their saint weapons and slashed out a powerful sword chi towards the sky. The 10 strands of darkness-attributed sword chi fused together in the air and quickly turned into a demonic face. It charged toward Bai Dao with its claws and fangs. The disdain on Bai Dao's face became even thicker. He mocked. An attack from 10 ninth heavenly layer saint rulers is only as powerful as the second heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor. Is that all you've got? With that, he casually stabbed out with the heaven-quaking sword. A powerful sword chi shot into the sky and shattered the demonic face. Let's go! The black figure with the dagger no longer remained. With a deep bellow, he immediately turned into a black blur and shot off into the distance. The 10 ninth heavenly layer saint rulers did not hesitate either, silently fleeing into the distance. Chapter 1077. Bai Dao and the 11 black-clothed people chased each other out of Hellfire City very quickly. Although they had only clashed twice in the city, it was without a doubt an earth-shaking disturbance. Everyone in the city was thrown into an uproar. There were even quite a few Heaven Saint Masters who took to the air and hurried to where the Blood Cloud clan was. They all hoped to watch a battle between experts and help their future cultivation. However, they were fated to come up empty-handed. By the time they arrived at the ruins of the Blood Cloud clan, it was already empty. Even the powerful descendant of the Bai family who had been there the entire time had vanished. For a moment, the disappearance of the descendant of the Bai family and the sounds of battle that rang through the city became a cloud of suspicion. It troubled the hearts of the people in the city, and various rumors began to spread. The descendant of the Bai family has killed the disciple of the Imperial Protector, Mo Jian. The Imperial Protector has already gathered his friends to capture the descendant of the Bai family. The descendant of the Bai family has wiped out the entire Blood Cloud clan. He has already angered a supreme expert and has been captured. It's probably because the beast hide the descendant of the Bai family has brought to the attention of some experts on the continent, resulting in an intense conflict. The descendant of the Bai family is no match for them, so he has already fled. I think it's extremely likely that the enemy who wiped out the Bai family has reappeared. After a battle, they discovered that they were not the descendant's opponent, so they fled. The descendant of the Bai family chased after them. The descendant of the Bai family is so powerful that even the Imperial Protector can't do anything to him. I don't think there's anyone on the continent who's willing to provoke him. I think an enemy of the Bai family has appeared. Various rumors rang out in every corner of the city. The matter had already attracted the attention of everyone in the city, but no one knew the truth. They could only make wild guesses. Bai Dao kicked up a violent gust of wind outside the city as he pursued the 11 black-clothed people with surging, killing intent. He was so fast that he had already turned into a faint blur. In front of him, the 10 Ninth Heavenly Layer Saint Rulers had completely fused their presences together. They had used a special secret technique to condense all their energy, maintaining a certain distance from Bai Dao as they fled into the distance. Whenever Bai Dao was about to catch up to them, their speed would suddenly increase, instantly widening the distance between them and Bai Dao. Very soon, Bai Dao and the group of black-clothed people had already traveled for an entire day and night. They moved extremely quickly, crossing several 100,000 kilometers in a single day. Brat, something's off. Looking at how they're acting, they seem to be purposefully baiting you. Be careful! Venerable Poison Sword's voice rang out in Bai Dao's head. Don't worry. I'm not stupid. I know what I'm doing. Bai Dao replied coldly. Now that his enemy was right before him, his killing intent began to boil. He knew that he could finally avenge the blood feud that had accumulated in his heart for 50 years. In the blink of an eye, another 3 days passed. Bai Dao had already traveled over 1 million kilometers in pursuit of the group of black-clothed people. It was already late at night. The thick, dark clouds seemed to weigh down from above, completely blotting out the moonlight. The night was extremely dark, so dark that it was impossible to even see one's own fingers. After 4 days of pursuit, Bai Dao still pursued relentlessly. He refused to give up, but determination filled his eyes as he thought, the people who wiped out my Bai family are even more powerful than I imagined. There's actually a holy emperor and 10 Ninth Heavenly Layer Saint Rulers. If I want to avenge my family, I need Venerable Poison Sword strength. Otherwise, I probably won't have the chance to take revenge with my talent. Humph, Venerable Poison's word, you share a body with my soul. So don't think I don't know that you're constantly adapting to my body. Once you've completely adapted to my body, it'll probably be time for you to forcefully take over my body and devour my soul. At that time, there'll only be one outcome regardless of whether I can take revenge or not. Since that's the case, why don't I take the risk? My life no longer belongs to me anyway. With that thought in mind, Bai Dao pursued the 11 people fearlessly. It didn't matter if there was a mountain of blades or a sea of flames before him. Nothing could stop his advance. This was because he knew that even if he encountered great danger, it would not be his problem. It would be Venerable Poison Sword's problem. Right now, Bai Dao only wanted revenge. The 11 people entered a barren mountain range with Bai Dao. They quickly moved through the pitch-black mountains before fleeing into a pitch-black palace. Bai Dao saw the huge palace, but he did not hesitate at all. He continued to charge in without slowing down at all. Brat, stop. You can't go in. It's a trap. Venerable Poison Sword's frantic voice rang out in Bai Dao's head. The light in Bai Dao's eyes flickered as well. Venerable Poison's word wanted to forcefully take control of Bai Dao's body. Venerable Poison's word, the strongest of my enemies, is only at the 4th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor. They pose no threat to you, but this is their nest. I want to flip it over and turn this place into a river of blood and a sea of corpses. Bai Dao roared. Bai Dao bellowed out. His flickering eyes quickly stabilized, replaced by a pair of cold and determined eyes in the end. The body belonged to Bai Dao after all. Venerable Poison's word and Bai Dao fought for control of the body and were successfully suppressed by Bai Dao. Bastard, Bai Dao, you brat. Don't let your hatred get to your head. Wake up and stop. It's a trap inside. Don't go in. Even if you want to die, don't drag me in with you. Venerable Poison's word was flustered and exasperated as he furiously roared. However, Bai Dao completely ignored him. He turned into a black blur and charged into the palace. As soon as Bai Dao entered the palace, the doors immediately closed. It was pitch black inside where nothing could be seen. Suddenly, a scorching presence surged out. The temperature in the palace began to skyrocket. Black flames erupted from the ground, forming a strange formation that trapped Bai Dao. God damn it, this is a formation. Brat, you've been trapped in a formation. Venerable Poison's word cursed in exasperation. His hatred for Bai Dao had seeped into his bones. Ha 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 ha, remnant of the Bai family. Welcome to the Yama Hall, one of the 3 great assassination organizations of the Tianyuan continent. You're the first guest of my Yama Hall in 1,000 years, so I'll let you properly experience the scenery of my Yama Hall. An unpleasant voice rang out from nowhere. It sounded like the weeping of a ghost. The laughter was extremely sinister and terrifying. God damn it, it's actually the famed assassination organization of the Tianyuan continent, the Yama Hall. I've actually been trapped here. Bai Dao, you brat, you've done me in. Venerable Poison's word wailed. Venerable Poison's word let out a powerless wail. If his strength was at its peak, he would be able to charge into the Yama Hall. However, he was currently in the form of a soul and did not possess the strength he once possessed. Being trapped here, there was practically no hope of escaping. So what if it's the Yama Hall? Venerable Poison's word, you were someone who stood at the apex of the continent in the past. You didn't even fear the 10 protector clans, so how can a mere assassination organization stop you? I'll let you control my body now and avenge me. Bai Dao said to Venerable Poison's word. Bai Dao said to Venerable Poison's word, but he could not help but think of his sister, Bai Yuntian. He sighed inside, Sister, I'm useless. I probably won't be able to avenge you. Brat, what's the point of letting me control your body now? The Yama Hall is infamous and has stood on the Tianyuan continent for over 100,000 years. How can they be so easy to deal with? Especially when a brat like you actually came to their lair of your own accord. Why, you're infuriating me. Venerable Poison's word cursed as he controlled Bai Dao's body. He gripped the heaven-quaking sword in his right hand as he sternly stared at the rising black flames. They were black flames. Heaven-quaking sword style, heaven-cleaving form. Suddenly, Venerable Poison's word bellowed out, and the heaven-quaking sword immediately erupted with surging energy. He raised the sword high into the air and stabbed it toward the ceiling of the hall. With a loud boom, the entire palace shook violently. However, Venerable Poison Sword's sword attack, which had the power to destroy the world, did not damage the palace at all. It did not even leave a single crack on the palace. Ha 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 ha. You still want to break through the Divine Hall and escape? I'd advise you to give up. This Divine Hall was created by the Holy Emperor. Unless you can unleash an attack as powerful as the Holy Emperor, you won't be able to break through it. Sinister laughter rang out from the dark space. Once again. What? This is a Divine Hall. Venerable Poison's word paled in fright. His face immediately became ashen as his mind trembled violently. He no longer held onto any hope, and his hatred for Bai Dao had reached its limit. He was tempted to devour Bai Dao's flesh and blood right now. At this moment, a black-robed person sat on a throne in a pitch-black hall at the very top of the Divine Hall. Below him, 10 people dressed in the same way as him sat in 2 neat rows. Yama, the remnant of the Bai family, has been trapped in the Divine Hall. Should we go kill him right now and take the beast fur? One of the people below asked. His voice was cold and emotionless. The Yama who sat at the front was the holy emperor who had fought against Bai Dao with a dagger in Hellfire City. In the end, he had been repelled by Venerable Poison's word. He was now the highest leader of the underworld sect. The 10 people below him were the 10 protector kings of the underworld sect. Their status was only second to the Yama. There's no hurry. The remnant of the Bai family is very powerful. He's at the Holy Emperor's 6th heavenly layer at the very least. We may be able to kill him, but we'll suffer quite a lot as well. It's not worth it. Since he's been trapped in the Divine Hall, it's impossible for him to escape. It's just a pity that the Divine Hall's control is still in the hands of the previous Yama. I can only use a small portion of the Divine Hall's power, and I can't activate all the formations in the Divine Hall. Otherwise, there would be no need for us to personally kill him. Just the power of the Divine Hall would be enough. The previous Yama was heavily injured and has already been in seclusion for 1,000 years. After 1,000 years of recovery, I think he's mostly recovered. Let's just wait for the previous Yama to emerge from seclusion before we deal with him. The Yama's voice was filled with helplessness. The Yama Hall had suffered heavy losses in the battle against the Blood Sword sect 1,000 years ago. They had lost many experts and still had not fully recovered. Although they possessed the strength to kill Bai Dao now, they would lose quite a few experts as well. They did not dare to take the risk, so they could only trap Bai Dao and Venerable Poisoned Word in the Divine Hall. Chapter 1078. The disturbance in Hellfire City settled down very quickly. However, ever since the battle that had erupted that night, the descendant of the Bai family who had destroyed the Blood Cloud clan never appeared again. In the Holy Empire, in a mountain range tens of thousands of kilometers away from the City of God, there was a small wooden hut that stood alone on the highest peak. Even though it had been buffeted by the cold wind for many years, the hut seemed to have taken root in the ground. It stood there steadily, never swaying at all. The furnishings in the cabin were very simple, so simple that it was hard to believe that this was a place where people lived. Other than a wooden bed, a table, and a stool, there was nothing else. However, the inside of the cabin was very clean and spotless. On the wooden bed, a beautiful middle-aged woman in a dark green dress was quietly lying there with her eyes closed. She was graceful and luxurious, exuding an exuberant, heroic spirit between her brows. Her bearing was extraordinary. Although she was already middle-aged, she was still as beautiful as a flower and as beautiful as the moon. With a single glance, one could tell that she must have been a devastatingly beautiful woman when she was young. Beside the bed sat a middle-aged man in white robes. His expression was sorrowful and pained, and his face was somewhat haggard. His thick hands were gently holding the middle-aged woman's white, jade-like hands. "Cayenne, you've been unconscious for an entire year. I know that you've sealed yourself off because you're heartbroken. You don't want to wake up. Cayenne, I've let you down. I've let you down. I'm too ashamed to face you. The person who should be punished like this should be me, not you. Cayenne, why are you so foolish? Cayenne, can you hear me? Don't be so stubborn. Don't continue like this. Please wake up. Do you know how sad and painful it is to see you like this?" How Wu sat beside Czar Cayenne as he gently murmured while holding her hand. His face was filled with pain. Ever since he had brought Czar Cayenne back from the City of God, she had been unconscious the entire time. She had never woken up. "Cayenne, perhaps Mu-er can wake you up. Am I supposed to go find Mu-er?" His heart was filled with bitterness. He knew extremely well that whether it was him or Czar Cayenne, Mu-er had deeply hated both him and Czar Cayenne. Getting Mu-er to use her zither to awaken Czar Cayenne was almost impossible. And if he really did that, it might even deepen Mu-er's hatred for him. What should I do? What should I do? Cayenne, when are you going to wake up? In the blink of an eye, another 2 years passed. It had now been 3 years since Jianqin had arrived in Mercenary City. At this moment, in the secret room that Xiao Ling had condensed with energy deep beneath Mercenary City, the white-clothed Jianqin sat there like a statue without moving at all. Not a single ripple of energy radiated from his body. In the silent and cold secret room, space seemed to beat rhythmically like a heart. A profound aura filled the entire secret room, containing an indescribable truth of the world. Jianqin sat there just like that, using the mysteries of the world that Xiao Ling had condensed to comprehend the truths of the world and the laws of the world. After 3 years of painstaking study, Jianqin's rate of improvement was indescribable. During those 3 years, his comprehension of the mysteries of the world had gone from the 7th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler to the 9th heavenly layer. At the same time, he had remained at the 9th heavenly layer for a year, reaching the peak of the 9th heavenly layer. He was only a step away from the Holy Emperor's level of comprehension. Bai Hai and Huang Tianba remained at the 7th and 6th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler. Their talent was nowhere near as great as Jianqin's, so even with Xiao Ling's assistance, they were unable to maintain the rate of improvement of a minor level every year. However, with their current rate of comprehension, they only needed 3 more years to break through again. The reason why they could break through at the same time within a year was because they had remained at the same level of comprehension for many years. They were at the peak of a minor level of comprehension, which was why they could break through so quickly. Even so, the two of them were overjoyed. If they had to comprehend the mysteries of the world and break through on their own, it would take them at least a few dozen years or even 100 years to break through a minor realm. With Xiao Ling's assistance, they'd been able to shorten the time needed to break through by a few times or even over a dozen times. Huang Wan's strength rapidly increased over the past 3 years. She had reached the 4th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler now. Only Chang Wuji and Yangling remained as Heaven Saint Masters. Chang Wuji's talent was rather mediocre. Although he had consumed heavenly resources, he had basically reached the end of his 1,000-year lifespan. His current situation was rather lacking. Even with the assistance of the 3 beast furs, he was unable to completely comprehend the mysteries of the world. He remained at the peak of Heaven Saint Master. On the other hand, Yangling had not broken through, but he still had an extremely long lifespan. As a result, breaking through was only a matter of time for him. Suddenly, the mysteries of the world that filled Jianqin's secret room began to pulse violently. The space around Jianqin seemed to be greatly affected as well. It began to violently tremble, causing the vision in the room to distort. Jianqin, who sat in the center of the room, began to blur as well. In the end, he actually vanished into the distorted space. The clear sky above Mercenary City immediately darkened. A thick layer of clouds silently formed, enveloping the entire city. The thick layer of clouds blocked out the sunlight, blotting out the sky. At the same time, it rapidly expanded, reaching over 100,000 kilometers. The originally bright Mercenary City had become dark in a single moment. The sudden change of weather made everyone in the city stop what they were doing. At that moment, all the people in the city raised their heads to look at the sky. Surprise and curiosity filled their eyes as discussions constantly rang out. No one knew what was happening. The speed at which the clouds gathered was unbelievable. It did not seem like a storm at all. Just as everyone was intensely discussing the sudden appearance of the clouds, a tremendous pressure suddenly appeared. It viciously pressed down from the sky, enveloping the entire Mercenary City. Mixed in with the pressure was a profound, incomprehensible truth of the world. Immediately, everyone felt like a huge rock was pressing down on their chests, making it difficult for them to breathe. A few weaker people even felt like they were about to suffocate. This is the mysteries of the world. Someone has broken through to become a Saint Ruler. No, I've personally witnessed the birth of a Saint Ruler. It was impossible for them to produce such a powerful pressure, and the mysteries of the world that descended were nowhere near as powerful as this. Has someone become a Saint Ruler? The birth of a saint ruler is accompanied by 5-colored auspicious clouds. If it's a holy emperor, there will be 7-colored auspicious clouds. We'll know whether the person who broke through this time is a saint ruler or a holy emperor when we see the color of the auspicious clouds. Everyone look! There's color. The auspicious clouds have appeared. Mercenary City was filled with experts. Many of the knowledgeable experts saw through the secret of the strange. Dark clouds with a single glance and immediately cried out. Their eyes were filled with deep envy. Soon after, a dazzling rainbow light tore through the darkness and appeared in the thick layer of clouds. The colors quickly became gorgeous, growing from 5 colors to 7 colors very quickly. The entire layer of clouds was dyed in a riot of colors. It was extremely enchanting. It's the 7-colored auspicious clouds. It's the 7-colored auspicious clouds. A saint ruler has broken through to holy emperor. Just who has broken through? Is it an elder of Mercenary City? From now on, Mercenary City has gained another unrivaled expert. The crowd burst into an uproar. They were extremely excited. Being able to personally witness the birth of a holy emperor was something that they could only come across by chance because there were extremely few holy emperors on the Tian-Yuan continent. It was very difficult for a single holy emperor to appear out of several billion people. The appearance of the 7-colored auspicious clouds alarmed all the upper echelon of Mercenary City. A group of people led by Tianjin had already appeared in the air. They all stared at the auspicious clouds in surprise. Grand Elder, just who has broken through in our Mercenary City? Why can't I sense it at all? Could it be that the person who has broken through is not in our Mercenary City, but somewhere else, and our Mercenary City just happens to be within the range of the auspicious clouds? An elder of Mercenary City asked politely from behind Tianjin. Tianjin stared at the auspicious clouds in the sky as a sliver of surprise appeared on his face. He said, "The clouds are centered around Mercenary City, so the person who has broken through is in Mercenary City. However, he's hidden himself very well, so even I can't sense where he is." At this moment there was a sudden change. The tremendous pressure that filled the world rapidly weakened. In just a few seconds it vanished without a trace, as if it had never appeared in the first place. The rainbow clouds in the sky rapidly faded as well. After a few seconds, they turned into nothingness, reappearing in the azure sky. Tianjin frowned slightly when he saw this. Surprise filled his eyes as he cried out, "What's going on? Why have the auspicious clouds vanished?" When someone breaks through to the Holy Emperor level, the auspicious clouds will last for 7 days. But but the auspicious clouds have just formed, so why have they vanished so quickly? I've never seen or heard of something like this before, and there's no record of it in the records. An elder beside Tianjin sighed. Tianjin stared at the sky that had returned to normal as he pondered. A while later, he seemed to understand something and sighed. He said, regretfully, "That person has failed to break through." Failed? How is that possible? Once the auspicious clouds appear, it's definitely a success. How can there be a failure? What a strange story, what a strange story. The rainbow auspicious clouds had only appeared for less than 10 breaths of time before disappearing without a trace. Such a strange scene left all the elders of Mercenary City puzzled, and a great cloud of suspicion rose in their hearts. The knowledgeable people in Mercenary City quickly connected the dots and sighed in pity. At that moment, many of them felt extremely sorry for the person who had broken through. He was just about to break through to the Holy Emperor level and become a supreme expert that no one dared to provoke on the Tianyuan continent. Yet he had suddenly failed at the final moment. Just how great of a blow was this? Jianqin suddenly opened his eyes in the depths of Mercenary City. He furiously stood up and roared at the sword spirits in his sea of consciousness. "Xing, Qing Suo, why have you come to make trouble? I was about to become a holy emperor, yet I failed because of you. Why are you stopping me from breaking through to the holy emperor level?" Chapter 1079. Jianchen stood in the secret room, furiously. He was filled with regret and reluctance. This was the Holy Emperor's realm. This was the realm he had been looking forward to for a very long time. His current battle prowess had already reached the 7th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor, so breaking through to the Holy Emperor would not increase his strength at all. However, as long as he could break through to the Holy Emperor's realm, he would possess the ability to rip open space gates. At that time, no matter how large the world was, no matter how great the distance between two places was, it would only be a single step for Jianchen. He would no longer need to rely on Ruijin and Blackfish's help if he wanted to go somewhere far away. The Holy Emperor was the realm Jianchen had been looking forward to for a very long time. He did not lack battle prowess right now. What he lacked was comprehension. Master, you can't continue to comprehend the mysteries of the world, because this will only bring you harm and no benefits, Qing Sua said rather timidly when he sensed Jianchen's intense fury. Master, we're stopping you from breaking through to the Holy Emperor's realm. It's all for your own good. You can't break through to the Holy Emperor's realm. Ziying's voice rang out in Jianchen's head. She spoke firmly, as if no matter how angry Jianchen was, they would do everything they could to stop him. Jianchen calmed down very quickly with that. He forcefully suppressed his fury and growled, Ziying, Qing Sua, what's going on? Why can't I break through to the Holy Emperor's realm? Master, you want to walk the path of the way of the sword. The way of the sword will clash with the mysteries of the world that you've comprehended. The two cannot exist together at the same time. Otherwise, it will greatly affect your future cultivation. Master, don't you find it very strange that we don't stop you from breaking through to the 9th heavenly layer? That's because when your comprehension of the mysteries of the world stops at the 9th heavenly layer, Qing Sua and I can forcefully remove your comprehension of the mysteries of the world so that you can focus on the way of the sword. However, if Master's comprehension of the mysteries of the world reaches the level of the Holy Emperor, it'll be very difficult for me and Qing Sua to remove your comprehension, so you can never break through to the level of the Holy Emperor. What? You're going to strip me of the mysteries of heaven and earth in the future? Jianchan was shocked. So you're saying that I'll lose all my comprehension of the mysteries of the world in the future, including the Saint Ruler abilities that I currently possess? Indeed, but don't worry too much about it, Master. Once you walk the path of the way of the sword, you'll discover that the way of the sword is even more powerful than the mysteries of the world that you've comprehended, said Ziying. Master, the way of the sword is publicly acknowledged as the most powerful killing technique. Before the way of the sword, the mysteries of the world are like tofu. Unless the difference between the two is just too great, the way of the sword is the undisputed king, said Qing Su. Ziying, Qing Sua, is the way of the sword really as powerful as you say it is? If I walk the path of the way of the sword, just what level of strength will I reach? Jianchen was rather tempted. He was a swordsman in the first place, so he had a special attachment to the sword. Ziying and Qing Sua were describing a completely new path of cultivation, which was extremely tempting to Jianchen. Master, the way of the sword has a total of 5 great realms, which are Sword Origin, Sword Spirit, Sword Immortal, Sword Xian, and Sword God. These 5 realms do not represent strength. They're just like the Saint tier, Heaven tier, Earth tier, and Human tier battle skills on the Tianyuan continent. They represent great battle prowess and supreme offensive power. However, the 5 realms of the way of the sword are far more powerful than the battle skills on the Tianyuan continent. The difference between the two is like a chasm. Even the weakest realm of Sword Origin is several times more powerful than the battle skills of the Saint tier. And once you reach Sword Origin, every attack you make will be several times more powerful than a Saint tier battle skill. It won't be like a Saint tier battle skill, where it consumes a huge amount of energy every time you use it. Even a Holy Emperor would not be able to use it continuously. He paused slightly and fell silent for a while before continuing. The path of the way of the sword is extremely suitable for Master. If Master takes this path of cultivation, he will possess a unique advantage. If Master reaches sword origin with his current strength, he'll be able to break through to sword origin. If you reach sword spirit, you'll probably be as powerful as a holy emperor at the 9th heavenly layer. If you reach sword spirit, you won't need to fear experts like the holy emperor anymore. At the same time, the battle prowess of these realms will increase with Master's strength. The 5 major realms of the way of the sword were like a heaven-tier battle skill. If this heaven-tier battle skill was given to an Earth Saint Master, they would be able to unleash power on par with Heaven Saint Masters. If a 6th cycle Earth Saint Master used the heaven-tier battle skill, even Heaven Saint Masters would become heavily injured. At the same time, if a Heaven Saint Master used the same heaven-tier battle skill, it would be even more powerful. Once the 5 realms of the way of the sword were comprehended, it would not increase one's strength. Instead, it would increase one's battle prowess and attack power. At the same time, the battle prowess would rapidly increase with one's strength. Although Jianchen possessed the battle prowess of a holy emperor at the 7th heavenly layer, this battle prowess came from the emperor armament. Without the emperor armament, his strength was only at the 3rd heavenly layer of the holy emperor. The 3rd heavenly layer of the holy emperor was Jianchen's true strength. Although his current comprehension of the mysteries of the world was nowhere close to catching up, the energy within Jianchen had truly reached the 3rd heavenly layer of the holy emperor, and he could use it as he wished, like an extension of his arm. Jianchen's interest was immediately piqued by what the sword spirits had said. He no longer resented the sword spirits for interrupting his breakthrough to the holy emperor level. Instead, he felt a great desire for the way of the sword. Master, do you still remember the battle with Tsar Kaiyun in the City of God? At that time, you entered a mysterious state. In a daze, you unleashed a powerful attack that far exceeded your own strength. In fact, this is the way of the sword, but it is only the edge of the 1st realm of the way of the sword. It's just a pity that you don't have a sword that you can use with your life, or you probably would have reached the 1st realm of the way of the sword, sword origin. Ziying's voice was filled with pity. Jianchen immediately thought back to the battle with Tsar Kaiyun when he heard that. He immediately came to a realization and murmured, "So I've already touched on the edge of the way of the sword. Only now do I know that it's actually the way of the sword." Jianchen yearned for the way of the sword even more. He felt like this was the path of cultivation that belonged to him. Master, if you want to embark on the way of the sword, you need a sword that you can use with your life. Only by forging the azulite swords can you comprehend the way of the sword and reach sword origin, Qing Suo said eagerly. Ever since the sword spirits accepted Jianchen as their master and brought Jianchen's soul to the Tianyuan continent, Jianchen was destined to embark on the way of the sword. It was just that he had never possessed a sword that he could use with his life, which was why the time for him to embark on the way of the sword had always been delayed. In the end, Jianchen had no choice but to embark on a cultivation path that belonged to this world to survive. As for the sword spirits, they had always been waiting for the day the twin swords were forged. Only when the twin swords were forged would Jianchen possess swords that were bound to his life, allowing him to truly comprehend the way of the sword. The azulite swords. The azulite swords. It's the azulite swords again. Jianchen was troubled. The materials to forge the azulite swords were difficult to find. Every single one of them could only be found through luck. They were not something that could be obtained just because one wanted them. Jianchen gently sighed inside. No matter how difficult it was to find the materials, he would not give up. This was not only because of the 2 powerful swords that he had desired for a very long time, but also so that he could successfully comprehend the way of the sword and reach the 1st layer of the way of the sword, sword origin. Ziying, Qing Suo, how many materials are we missing to forge the azulite swords? Jianchen asked. We're missing 4 more before we can forge them. We've already made some progress on one of them. It's the Heaven Soul Stone that Master came across when he was hunted down by the assassins of the Yamahal in the City of God. Although Master had obtained some Heaven Soul Stone from one of the assassins, it's nowhere near enough, Xing said. Heaven Soul Stone, the Yamahal, Jianqin murmured as a cold light flashed through his eyes. Jianqin's breakthrough had been blocked, and he was unable to break through to the Holy Emperor level. There was no reason for him to stay here any longer. He checked on Bai Hai and the others before waking Huang Wan up. After bidding farewell to Shaoling, he left with Huang Wan. Although Jianqin really wanted Huang Wan to stay here and continue comprehending the mysteries of the world, the ancient secret technique in Huang Wan's head had not been solved yet. He was still worried, so he wanted to take Huang Wan to the protector clans and find a way to undo the secret technique. As for comprehending the mysteries of the world, he could bring Huang Wan back at any time in the future and have Xiao Ling study the mysteries of the world to assist her. Xiao Ling reluctantly bid farewell to Jianqin before sending Jianqin and Huang Wan to the surface. When Jianqin and Huang Wan appeared in Mercenary City, the commotion caused by the rainbow clouds had yet to disperse. Countless passers-by could be heard talking all over the place. Jianqin, why are there so many people talking about the rainbow clouds and the news of someone becoming a holy emperor? Are they talking about you? Have you already broken through to the holy emperor level? Huang Wan stared at Jianqin with her large, pretty eyes. She was surprised, and her eyes were filled with deep affection. Jianqin's head was filled with the way of the sword and the azulate swords. He no longer cared about his failure to break through to the holy emperor level. He could not help but smile when he heard Huang Wan's question. He said without any care, "The person they're talking about seems to be me. I have indeed failed to break through to the holy emperor level. So my comprehension of the mysteries of the world is still at the 9th heavenly layer." Chapter 1080. Jianqin, it's fine if you fail. Your talent is extraordinary. You'll reach the level of Holy Emperor sooner or later. Huang Wan comforted him. Her face was filled with concern, as if she was afraid that Jianqin's mental state would be affected by the failure of his breakthrough. Jianqin bitterly smiled and sighed when he heard that. Once he reached the way of the sword spirits would forcefully strip his comprehension of the mysteries of the world from his soul, causing him to lose all of his abilities as a saint ruler. Right now, reaching the level of Holy Emperor was no longer important. Afterward, Jianqin took Huang Wan to see the Grand Elder of Mercenary City, Tianjian and Tai Ta. After chatting with the two of them, they left Mercenary City and returned to Chanyang Prefecture through the space gate constructed by Ruijin. It had been 3 whole years since Jianqin had left Chanyang Prefecture. During that time, the prefecture had not changed much. The only thing that caught everyone's attention was Jianqin's third brother, Chanyang Ku. Ever since Chanyang Ku had sought Jianqin's help that night, Jianqin had ordered the exclusive alchemist of Flame City to refine a 10,000-year-old heavenly resource into a pill and send it to Chanyang Prefecture. After consuming the precious pill, Chanyang Ku immediately underwent a complete transformation. His talent went from mediocre to a heavenly prodigy. Not only did his strength increase drastically, but his cultivation speed also became extremely fast as well. He was now an Earth Saint Master and had even reached the 3rd cycle. At night, Jianqin and Huang Wan arrived at the fragrant garden behind Chanyang Prefecture. Huang Wan had changed into a luxurious, snow-white dress, trying her best to make herself seem like the daughter of a wealthy family. Right now, she did not seem like a chivalrous lady at all. She seemed more like a gentle, understanding, considerate, and well-educated wife. Huang Wan gently hugged Jianqin's arm as she rested her head on Jianqin's shoulder as they strolled through the garden. Her face was filled with happiness. "Jianqin, after a while, I want to go to the sea realm to cultivate. The water-attributed energy there is extremely dense, so it should be very suitable for my water spirit's body. I think if I cultivate there, my cultivation speed won't be any slower than in Mercenary City." Huang Wan looked at Jianqin affectionately as she spoke with a soft and pleasant voice. Jianqin obviously would not turn down Huang Wan's suggestion. The water spirit's body was different from regular constitutions. People with this constitution would indeed be much more effective in places with abundant water-attributed energy. It would allow them to comprehend cultivation further. Once I find a way to remove the seal in your head, I'll take you to the sea realm. As for the scripture of the sunflower aqua that you cultivate, it's the first one I found in the space ring of the ancestor of the Huanggu clan, but it's only at the early saint tier. Once I go to the sea realm, I'll see if I can get a higher level saint tier cultivation method that's more suitable for you from Poseidon. As one of the 4 great experts of ancient times, I think Poseidon knows quite a few cultivation methods. Huang Wan had truly become his woman. He needed to do everything he could to forge Huang Wan's future. Huang Wan's future was truly his. Huang Wan nodded obediently as a sweet smile appeared on her lips. She was extremely touched by how much effort Jianqin had put in for her. At the same time, she felt extremely satisfied. At this moment, Jianqin's eyes suddenly narrowed. A slender person in luxurious clothes currently sat in the pavilion up ahead. "Ani," Jianqin murmured. Although he could only see her back, he could tell with a single glance that she was his auntie Yu Fengyan, who had doted on him like a mother since he was young. Jianqin and Huang Wan immediately quickened their steps and quickly made their way to the pavilion. Arriving behind Yu Fengyan, Jianqin asked, "Auntie, it's so late. Why are you still sitting here alone?" Yu Fengyan was in a daze. She did not seem to notice Jianqin's approach at all. The sudden voice immediately made her jump in fright, causing her to look back instinctively. When she discovered that it was Jianqin, she forced a smile on her sorrowful face. She said softly, "So it's Xiangtian." The current Yu Fengyan was much more haggard than before. She was no longer as radiant as she was a few years ago. Her eyes were filled with deep yearning. Jianqin felt very uncomfortable when he saw how Yu Fengyan was behaving. Yu Fengyan had always doted on him since he was young. Although he was not her biological son, she treated him like one. As a result, she had occupied an extremely important place in Jianqin's heart long ago. "Ani, what's wrong? Are you thinking about sister again?" Jianqin asked in concern. He had already heard about his brother, Changyang Hu, and sister, Changyang Hu. As soon as she heard Jianqin mention Changyang Mingyue, Yu Fengyan could no longer control the longing and pain that had accumulated in her heart. She began to sob uncontrollably. Her tears gushed out like a fountain as tears of yearning flowed out endlessly. Jianqin's face darkened when he saw how sorrowful Yu Fengyan was. He cared about his aunt very much, so Jianqin felt terrible when he saw her like this. "I wonder how Mingyue is doing right now. I haven't seen her in over a decade. Mingyue, I know you've become the holy maiden of the Ice Goddess Hall. When will you come back to visit me? I haven't seen you in over a decade. I really do miss you," Yu Fengyan sobbed. She was already choking with sobs. Jianqin looked at his sobbing aunt with mixed feelings. After a moment of silence, he secretly sighed and comforted her. "Auntie, don't be too sad. I haven't seen sister in over a decade as well, so I miss her very much. Once I've dealt with some matters in the next few days, I'll take you to the North Pole to find sister." Yu Fengyan's face froze when she heard that. Jianqin's words were like a ray of light in the darkness to Yu Fengyan, causing her sorrowful and yearning eyes to become slightly excited. Yu Fengyan grabbed Jianqin's hand as her body trembled. She emotionally said, "Is that true? Xiangtian, are you really willing to take me to find Mingyue?" The North Pole was not on the Tianyuan continent. It was just like Three Saint Island where the heavenly enchantress resided. It was on the ocean, far away from the Tianyuan continent. The North Pole was also on the ocean, bordering the ocean. However, it was much further away from the Tianyuan continent than Three Saint Island. Although Yu Fengyan was the wife of the provincial lord of the Chanyang Prefecture and possessed an important status in the Chanyang Prefecture, she did not have any actual authority. Coupled with the great distance between the two places, it was basically impossible for her to go to the North Pole to find Chanyang Mingyue herself. It was impossible for Heaven Saint Masters to set foot in such a great distance. Only saint rulers possessed the strength to set foot in the icy plains, and they would need to travel for a very long time. Yu Fengyan did not have the right to be escorted by a saint ruler with her status in the Chanyang Prefecture. And don't worry, once I've dealt with everything in the next few days, I'll definitely take you to the Ice Goddess Hall to find my sister. Jianqin swore. In reality, he missed his sister very much, whom he had not seen in over a decade. Chanyang Mingyue was the person who treated Jianqin the best aside from his mother, Bai Yuntian. She had even treated him better than his father, Changyang Ba. After comforting Yu Fengyan, Jianqin and Huang Wan sent Yu Fengyan to her room to rest. Afterwards, they went their separate ways. The next morning, Jianqin went to Lore City to visit Uncle Kendall's son, Kendall and Shaosan. The inn that the mother and son opened in Lore City was extremely famous. There was no one in the city who didn't know about it, and it had even spread throughout the Jesson Kingdom. This was because the inn was the safest inn in Lore City, or even the entire kingdom of Jesson. Fights were extremely rare, but if anyone dared to fight there, they would be thrown out mercilessly by a large group of mysterious experts who would charge in from outside, or even kill them on the spot. The inn would always be protected by a group of mysterious experts at all times. The identities of these mysterious experts had already become an open secret in Lore City. Many people knew that they were from the Chanyang Prefecture. As time went on, very few fights occurred in the inn run by Ken Shaosan and his mother. As a matter of fact, the inn had become the safest place to hide in the eyes of some fleeing mercenaries. Ken Shaosan's saint weapon that had been destroyed by Yang Jizong's people had already been repaired with Jianqin's assistance, allowing him to cultivate again. He was no longer a cripple who could not cultivate. Even his talent had been modified by Jianqin through heavenly resources, allowing him to cultivate at an unimaginable rate. Jianqin cared for Ken Shaosan and his mother even more. He had basically done everything he could to repay Kendall's kindness. He repaid Kendall's kindness to Ken Shaosan and his mother by 100-fold. After bidding farewell to Ken Shaosan and his mother, Jianqin returned to Chanyang Prefecture. Afterward, he left Mercenary City with Huang Wan, Changyang Zuyunkong, and Changyang Zuyunshao. He planned on heading to the protector clan of Chanyang Prefecture to remove the seal in Changyang Zuyunkong's head, as well as the secret technique on Huang Wan. Chapter 1081. Jianqin and Huang Wan stood side by side as they hovered 1,000 meters in the air. They observed their surroundings while Changyang Zuyunshao, Changyang Zuyun, and Changyang Zuyunkong hovered beside Jianqin. Their expressions differed. Changyang Zuyunshao and Huang Wan were filled with excitement, while Changyang Zuyunkong seemed extremely dejected. His heart was heavy. Jianqin, this is the entrance to our protector clan, Changyang Prefecture. It's located to the east of the Tianyuan continent, over 5 million kilometers away from Mercenary City. Our protector clans have the longest history on the Tianyuan continent, having existed for over 1 million years. We're even older than Mercenary City. In ancient times, before Mercenary City existed on the Tianyuan continent, our protector clans were already the 10 most powerful clans on the continent. Changyang Zuyunshao explained to Jianqin. Although this was not the first time Jianqin had heard about the long history of the protector clans, he was still stunned by how long the protector clans had existed. Jianqin, the protector clans of the Tianyuan continent all exist in an independent space. We call this space a world, but it's a miniature world. It's no different from the Tianyuan continent. The only difference is that the energy of the world in this miniature world is much more abundant than on the Tianyuan continent. Changyang Zuyunshao gently raised his right hand as he said that. A tremendous amount of energy shot out from his hand before silently disappearing 100 meters away. Immediately, the space there began to pulse violently. Very soon, a huge gate that was 100 meters tall suddenly appeared. Inside the gate was a completely different scene. There were beautiful mountains and clear waters. Birds filled the sky, while small beasts ran on the ground. It seemed like a world exactly the same as the Tianyuan continent. Jianqin, this is a world gate. It's the largest gate in our Changyang prefecture. It's rarely opened, but whenever it does, it's either a large-scale movement of experts from our Changyang prefecture or an important figure of great status. Changyang Zhu Yinshao stared deeply at Jianqin, allowing him to understand how the Changyang prefecture treated him. Jianqin studied the world gate, but he could not find anything special about it. He just lost interest and said, "Great-grandfather's great-grandmother, let's go in. Great-grandson, you can go in with father and mother. I'll wait outside." Changyang Zhu Yunkong gloomily replied, "Great-grandfather, why don't you come in with us?" Jianqin looked at Changyang Zhu Yunkong in confusion. His main reason for coming to the Changyang prefecture this time was to remove the seal in Changyang Zhu Yunkong's head. Changyang Zhu Yunkong gently sighed and said nothing. He was extremely dejected. Jianqin, Yunkong really can't go in. Once he sets foot in the Changyang prefecture, the emperor armament will go berserk and cause a great disaster. Changyang Zhu Yinshao gently sighed. Jianqin said nothing more with that. He held Huang Wan's hand and entered the Changyang prefecture with the couple. The 100-meter-tall world gate rapidly vanished with Jianqin's entry. The independent space of our Changyang prefecture is divided into the outer region and the inner region. Jianqin, I originally wanted to directly take you to the inner region, but considering that this is your first time in the Changyang prefecture, I'll take you in from the outer region so that you can understand the situation of our protector clan in detail. We're currently in the outer region. The outer region is where the ordinary people of the Changyang clan live. They live at the lowest level of society, and there are many of them. There are several million of them, and they all live in a city built against a mountain, Jianqin explained. In the space of our Changyang prefecture, there are endless mountains and countless magical beasts. Many of them move around in groups. As soon as you set foot outside the city, you'll be eaten by magical beasts at any time. A portion of the people who live in the outer region have been eliminated from the inner region due to their mediocre talent, while a portion of them have been born in the outer region. They cultivate there and grow up there. Once they reach the level of Heaven Saint Master or possess exceptional talent, they'll be taken to the inner region to enjoy an even better cultivation environment. As a result, there are very few Heaven Saint Masters in the outer region of the Changyang prefecture. They've all gathered in the inner region. The people of the outer region are no different from the ordinary mercenaries of the Tianyuan continent. They hunt magical beasts for their monster cores and eat their flesh as food. They struggle to become Heaven Saint Masters all year long. Every year, quite a few people from the outer region will die in the mouths of magical beasts. Jianqin listened to Changyang Zhu Yinxiao's introduction as he flew into the depths of Changyang prefecture. They passed over many hills and peaks that reached into the clouds. Jianqin also discovered a few people from the outer region who were engaged in an intense battle with magical beasts along the way. He could not help but think of his past self. In the past, he had done the same in order to increase his strength. He hunted magical beasts for their monster cores and ate their flesh as food. He traveled through dangerous forests filled with magical beasts all year long. Only those who had truly experienced all of this would understand the pain. Along the way, Jianqin also saw the city that Changyang Zhu Yinxiao had mentioned. It was not a large city and was covered in the marks of time. Who knew how long it had been standing there? But it still stood there proudly. However, the entire city was enveloped by a powerful barrier, protecting the people who lived there. Jianqin passed through the outer region very quickly and arrived at the inner region of Changyang prefecture. The energy of the world in the outer region of Changyang Prefecture was only comparable to a few blessed lands on the Tianyuan continent. But the energy of the world in the inner region was several times denser than the blessed lands on the Tianyuan continent. Cultivating in the inner region is basically as fast as cultivating monster cores. The energy of the world here is extremely pure, so it's much easier to cultivate. Jianchen sighed and sighed as he sensed the energy of the world in the inner region. The difference between the inner region and the outer region of Changyang Prefecture was like the difference between heaven and earth. At this moment, Jianchen's eyes suddenly narrowed as a sliver of disbelief appeared on his face. He saw a piece of land floating in the sky. The land was extremely large, the size of a royal city. It was several dozen kilometers in diameter. There were many buildings on the land, and people could be seen moving about on them. Jianchen could even sense tremendous presences unintentionally radiating from a few of the tightly shut buildings. The number of presences was enough to make him feel dumbfounded. The thing that caught everyone's attention the most was the huge palace that was several hundred meters tall in the center of the floating land. It was like a primordial beast that lay there silently. It radiated with an invisible pressure that deeply shocked everyone's souls. It was as if it was the ruler of the floating land. That floating land is the core of our Changyang Prefecture. It's where the experts of the inner region gather. The divine hall on the land is where the great elders of Changyang Prefecture cultivate. A few clansmen with exceptional talent also have the right to enter the divine hall. Changyang Ziyun Xiao explained to Jianchen from one side. Dong! Suddenly, the sound of a great bell rang out. The sound waves rolled out continuously, reverberating through the entire region of Changyang Prefecture. The moment the bell rang out, a few of the clansmen on the floating land immediately stopped. They all stared at the sky in surprise. Dong! Dong! The bell rang out 3 times in a row. When the bell rang out for the 3rd time, many of the tightly shut buildings on the floating land suddenly opened up. The people who had been cultivating inside all walked out. This is the sound of the bell of prime clarity. It's specially used to welcome esteemed guests. It hasn't rung for 100 years already. I wonder what kind of esteemed guest has come to our Changyang Prefecture this time. It must be the great elders of other protector clans. The bell of prime clarity has rung 3 times in a row. The person who has come must be someone who can summon wind and rain on the Tianyuan continent. Many of the people who had emerged from their buildings discussed among themselves. The bell didn't stop ringing. The huge sound waves shook the space and spread to every corner of Changyang Prefecture. Very soon, the bell had rung 6 times. After the 6th time, some of the tightly shut doors suddenly opened. Saint kings, surrounded by powerful energy, waves walked out of their buildings. They stared at the sky in shock. One of them murmured, "The bell of prime clarity hasn't rung for 100 years. I remember that the last time it rang was 100 years ago. At that time, the leader of the tyrant's Blade School came to visit. The bell of prime clarity rang 3 times in a row to welcome him. But this time, the bell of prime clarity has rung 6 times in a row. Could the person who has come be the great elder of Mercenary City? I'm afraid that only the great elder of Mercenary City has the right to make the bell of prime clarity ring 6 times in a row. Could it really be that he has come to visit our Changyang Prefecture?" A sage-like elder who stood in the crowd said in a doubtful voice, "Dong." At this moment, the bell rang once more. It had rung 7 times now. The entire Changyang Prefecture immediately fell into an uproar with the sound of the bell. At that moment, all the people who resided on the floating continent emerged from their buildings. Even a few people who were in life-or-death situations forcefully broke out. They all stared the sky in shock. Dong! The 8th bell rang out. The huge divine hall that stood silently in the center of the floating continent originally had its doors tightly shut. Only the small doors on the left and right were open for the people to enter. However, at this moment, the doors began to slowly open with a great rumble. Immediately, an ancient and desolate presence radiated from within, as if the doors had not been opened for a very long time. Afterward, 6 people of various ages stepped out from the divine hall together. They all smiled as they looked into the distance. Afterward, they moved together and flew into the sky, taking the initiative to welcome the visitor. The 6 of them were the 7 great elders aside from Changyang Zuyin Shao. Dong. Chapter 1082. After the 9 chimes, Jianqin and Changyang Zuyuan arrived above the floating piece of land. Before them, the 6 great elders of Changyang Prefecture stood in a row. They all personally welcomed them with smiles. In order to welcome Jianqin, the Changyang Prefecture had displayed their sincerity. Not only had the bell of Shangqing rung 9 times, even all the great elders of Changyang Prefecture had moved out. Probably only experts like the Holy Emperor could enjoy such a grand occasion. Ha 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 ha! The most outstanding genius in the history of our protector clan in Changyang Prefecture has finally returned home. Changyang Shoten, old man, great elder Changyang Qinyan of Changyang Prefecture, welcomes your return on behalf of the entire clan. And sagely, ruddy old man chuckled at Jianqin. He was extremely happy. Changyang Qinyan was the most senior member of the Qing branch in Changyang Prefecture, as well as the most powerful person in Changyang Prefecture. He was the only person in Changyang Prefecture who had reached great perfection as a holy emperor. He had been stuck at the bottleneck of becoming a holy emperor for many years now. Jianqin, let me introduce you to the great elders. Changyang Zuyin Shao stepped forward and introduced the remaining great elders of Changyang Prefecture to Jianqin with a smile. With Changyang Zuyin Shao's introduction, Jianqin finally learned the identities of the other great elders of Changyang Prefecture. Out of the 7 great elders of Changyang Prefecture, the Zhu and Yuan branches each had 2, while the Qing branch was the most powerful, having 3 of them. The great elders of the Zhu branch were Changyang Zuyin Shao and Changyang Zhu Shao, whom Jianqin was familiar with. The 2 great elders of the Yuan branch were Changyang Yuan Wuji and Changyang Yuan Jinghua. Other than Changyang Qinyan, Jianqin had seen the other 2 great elders of the Qing branch before. One of them was Changyang Qing Juri, who had come to Lore City to ask for the Bright Moon Divine Hall. The last person of the Qing branch was the Holy Emperor, who had been trapped in the Bright Moon Divine Hall with Jianqin and had all his energy drained away. His name was Changyang Qinyan Feng. After Changyang Zhu Yunxiao's introduction, the great elder of the Qing branch, Changyang Qing Juri, said, Yunxiao, you should be called Changyang Shoten. After all, that's the most appropriate form of address. As for the name Jianqin, it should be scrapped. From today onwards, there will only be Changyang Shoten on the Tianyuan continent, not Jianqin. Changyang Qingjuri looked at Jianqin with a sliver of coldness that no one noticed. Ha ha ha, Juri is right. Now that Changyang Shoten has returned to the clan, he should obviously be referred to by the clan name. I think the name Jianqin should be scrapped from today onwards. Changyang Qinyan agreed with a smile. Changyang Qinyan Feng and the 2 great elders of the Yuan branch nodded slightly. They agreed with this idea very much. Changyang Zhu Shao remained silent, while Changyang Zhu Yunxiao frowned slightly. He seemed troubled. He then looked at Jianqin and asked, Great-grandson, what do you think? Changyang Zhu Yunxiao very rarely referred to Jianqin like this, but this time he emphasized the word great-grandson a little more, as if he was showing off to the great elders of the other 2 branches that Jianqin was his great-grandson after the 9 chimes of the bell of supremacy had rung out of nowhere. Jianqin said without any hesitation, No, Jianqin is my name. I won't change that name. I won't object to the name Changyang Shoten either, but it can only be my secondary surname. Jianqin spoke without any hesitation, leaving no room for negotiation. His name was not something that could be changed so easily, not to mention the fact that it came from his past life. The gentle smiles on the great elders' faces quickly vanished. They all frowned slightly and became displeased. However, Changyang Zhu Shao stepped forward and said, "A name is just a form of address. There's no need to care so much about it. Moreover, my great-grandson has used the name Jianqin for so long already. He's a renowned figure on the Tianyuan continent now, so how can he change it so easily?" With Changyang Zhu Zhao's mediation, the great elders of the other two branches did not continue to argue. They all silently agreed to Jianqin. Jianchen was their junior, but the power he possessed was so great that even the protector clans dared not underestimate him, ignoring just how shocking his strength and talent were. Just the fact that he was a winged tiger was enough for them to make a concession. Not to mention, Jianqin had Ruijin and Blackfish behind him, two supreme experts who could rival the Holy Emperor. "Great elders, I've come to the protector clan of Changyang Prefecture as promised. May I ask if the seal in great-grandfather Yunkong's head can be removed?" Jianqin asked. "There's no rush. Changyang Shoden, since you've returned to the clan, the ceremony is obviously unavoidable. Let's carry out the ceremony first before removing the seal in Yunkong's head," said Changyang Qingjuri. "In my opinion, let's remove the seal in great-grandfather Yunkong's head first before carrying out the ceremony. It won't take up too much time anyway." Jianqin did not back down at all. He placed Changyang Zhu Yunkong's matter first. Changyang Zhu Yinshao and Changyang Zhu Shao faintly smiled when they heard that. However, the 5 great elders became stunned. They had already become rather displeased with how Jianqin had tried to bargain with them time and time again in a tone that left no room for negotiation. Although Jianqin's talent was extraordinary and his current strength could not be underestimated, he was still a junior in the end. As the great elders of Changyang Prefecture, they had never been forced by a junior like this before. Changyang Zhu Yunshao glanced past the great elders, and a sliver of anger flashed through his eyes. He loudly said, "Back then, the 7 of us agreed that if Yunkong could bring Xiangtian back to the clan, the 7 of us would remove the seal in his head. Now that Xiangtian has returned to the clan, it's time for us to keep our promise. Great elders, let's go remove the seal for Kong. Otherwise, wouldn't we be going back on our word?" The 2 great elders of the Yuan branch agreed with Changyang Zhu Yinxiao's words. As a result, one of them said, "All right, let's remove the seal in Yunkong's head first." The 3 great elders of the Qing branch could only comply with the Yuan branch's agreement. Afterward, the 7 great elders all left the independent space and went to remove the seal for Changyang Zhu Yunkong. Only Changyang Zhu Heiyun remained to lead the way for Jianqin. "Jianqin, Huangwan, come down with great-grandmother. Let great-grandmother introduce you to the important figures of our Changyang Prefecture." Changyang Zuyin smiled. Changyang Zuyin smiled before descending from the sky with Jianqin. They landed on the huge piece of land that hovered in the air below them. As soon as Jianqin's feet touched the ground, a large number of people gathered over from all directions. Very soon, Jianqin, Changyang Ziyun, and the others were surrounded by a sea of people. All of them, curiously, studied the unfamiliar Jianqin and Huangwan. They were filled with doubt. "I only know great-grandmother Yun out of the 3 of them, but who are the other 2? Could it be that the young man and woman standing beside Yin are the ones who were welcomed by the bell of Shangqing 9 times? Even the Grand Elder of Mercenary City only has the right to make the bell of Grand Clarity ring 6 times. Yet these 2 unfamiliar young men can make it ring 9 times. Are they Holy Emperor experts? Although Old Man hasn't left the clan for a very long time, he still knows a thing or 2 about the outside world. It's said that the only Holy Emperor on the Tianyuan continent is the Path Lord of Carnal Desires. Is this young man the only Holy Emperor of the humans, the Path Lord of Carnal Desires? Impossible. He's definitely not the Path Lord of Carnal Desires, the Holy Emperor of the humans. When the experts of the Beast God continent invaded our Tianyuan continent last time, I personally witnessed the path, Lord of Carnal Desires. This young man is definitely not him. If he's not the path, Lord of Carnal Desires, then who is he? Discussions filled the surroundings. Many people guessed at Jianchen's identity. Changyang Shoten, so it's you. Suddenly, a rather sharp voice rang out from the crowd. A well-dressed, middle-aged woman aggressively walked out of the crowd with two pretty women who seemed to be in their 20s. Jianchen followed the voice and recognized the three women with a single glance. They were the people who had come to Changyang Prefecture with Changyang Qingjuri in an attempt to obtain the Bright Moon Divine Hall. The middle-aged woman ignored the surprised gazes of the crowd with the two women and directly arrived before Jianchen. She placed her hands on her hips and acted like she was superior. She said haughtily, and I was wondering who it was. So it's the disrespectful junior, Changyang Shoten. Changyang Shoten, I never thought that even someone as disrespectful and arrogant as you would be able to enter my protector clan. I'm quite surprised. Changyang Zuyun's face immediately sank when she heard the middle-aged woman's words. Her face was filled with anger, and even Jianchen's face sank. Huang Wan also frowned slightly. She puffed up her cheeks and seemed to be fuming. Lung Shuang, you know this young man. Who is he? A hunchbacked old man asked with a hoarse voice from behind. The middle-aged woman treated the old man with great respect. She immediately changed her expression and eased up. Uncle Fanyu, you spend most of your time in seclusion, so you obviously don't know who Changyang Shoten is. This Changyang Shoten is the child of Changyang Zuyunkong, who was expelled from the clan 1,000 years ago for committing a grave mistake. He's so young, yet he's already arrogant just because he has some strength. He doesn't treat us seniors with any importance at all. He's arrogant and domineering, not behaving like a disciple of a large clan at all. Last time, when the esteemed Great Elder Jury and I personally visited them on the Tianyuan continent, this ignorant Changyang Shoten actually dared to chase Great Elder Jury away. How dare he? Chapter 1083. A few people in the surroundings immediately gained some understanding of Jianchen after hearing that. Their gazes toward Jianchen all changed. I never thought that Changyang Shoten would actually be someone like that. He doesn't even respect his seniors. Not only does he not respect his seniors, he even dares to chase away the esteemed Great Elder Jury. His crime is unforgivable. I really don't understand. How can someone like him, who doesn't respect his seniors, enter our protector clan? And why would several great elders personally welcome him and even use the bell of prime clarity to ring 9 times? In my opinion, Changyang Shoten probably has someone powerful supporting him from behind, which is why he's so unruly. When the bell of prime clarity rang 9 times, I think the person who came to welcome him wasn't Changyang Shoten, but someone else. Low discussions rang out in the surroundings. After hearing the middle-aged woman's description of Jianchen, the members of the inner clan who did not know the truth all pointed at Jianchen. They acted like they did not welcome Jianchen at all. There were even a few people who looked at Jianchen with hostility. Changyang Zuyun almost exploded from anger when she heard the discussions directed at Jianchen. She yelled out, "Everyone shut up! Not only is Changyang Shoten the most outstanding genius in the history of our Changyang Prefecture, he's also an esteemed guest of our Changyang Prefecture. How can you criticize a guest who can make the bell of prime clarity ring 9 times so casually? Yeyun, I know that Changyang Shoten is the descendant of your son, Yunkong, which is why you're so protective of him. I'll tell you the truth. If Changyang Shoten, who doesn't respect his seniors, wants to stay in our protector clan, I'll be the first to object," the middle-aged woman coldly said. The beautiful middle-aged woman said coldly. Then she seemed to have thought of something. She sighed softly and said, "I don't know if the respected grand elders are muddle-headed today. They actually made the Shangqing bell ring 9 times in a row to welcome a junior who has no respect for his elders, and even dared to ask the grand elders to leave. Changyang Zhu Yeyun trembled from anger. Her face was frosty as she glared at Changyang Qing Lingshuang. She coldly said, "Lingshuang, strength is everything on the Tianyuan continent. Changyang Shoten has the ability to chase away anyone from the Protector clan. As for the Shanqing sect, Xiangtian should be treated the same with his current abilities. Yeyun, don't talk to me about matters of the Tianyuan continent. Open your eyes and look at where you are. This is the Protector clan of Changyang Prefecture, not the Tianyuan continent." Changyang Qing Lingshuang sneered. Changyang Qing Lingshuang sneered. She thought inside, "Changyang Xiangtian, don't think that you can ride over us seniors just because you have some ability. I've already given you enough face back in Lore City, yet you're refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. You don't give us any face at all. Since that's the case, don't blame me for being rude. I know you're very strong, but this is the Protector clan. You can't act recklessly here." Jianqin calmly stood with his arms crossed. He stared at Changyang Qing Lingshuang emotionlessly and said, "Your name is Changyang Qing Lingshuang, right?" Jianqin's voice was rather cold, without any emotion at all. However, without a doubt, his words became a deep provocation and contempt in Changyang Qing Lingshuang's ears. She immediately became furious and shrieked, "Changyang Shoten, you disrespectful junior. How dare you directly call me by my name? Are you looking down on all the seniors in the Changyang Prefecture?" Changyang Qing Lingshuang looked around at everyone. Her face was filled with anger as she continued, "Everyone tell me, just how many rules has Changyang Shoten broken?" With that, Changyang Qing Lingshuang became surprised. At that moment, she felt the temperature around her rapidly drop, as if she had fallen into a cavern of ice. Her limbs immediately became cold, and in the next moment, she suddenly felt like she was suffocating. Jianqin's hand had already tightly gripped her neck, preventing her from breathing. Changyang Qing Lingshuang's face rapidly paled. Unpleasant sounds rang out from her throat. She had lost the ability to speak as her neck was tightly gripped. Changyang Qing Lingshuang was shocked. She stared at Jianqin with widened eyes. She refused to believe that Jianqin would be bold enough to do such a thing to her in the Protector clan. Jianqin tightly gripped Changyang Qing Lingshuang's neck with his right hand. The force from his fingers was so great that it seemed like he was about to snap her neck. He showed no mercy at all. "Changyang Qing Lingshuang, don't think that I can't do anything to you just because we're in the Protector clan. I can still kill you here." At that moment, the entire place fell silent. Everyone stared at Jianqin in a daze as disbelief filled their faces. None of them had thought that Jianqin would be so bold as to do something so disrespectful as a junior in front of everyone. "Release Aunt Lingshuang." At this moment, the two young women beside Changyang Qing Lingshuang finally returned to their senses. They drew their saint weapons and stabbed toward Jianqin as hard as they could without any fear. A gleam of light flashed through Jianqin's eyes. The surrounding space froze at that moment. He used the ability of saint rulers to freeze space to forcefully immobilize the two women. Bang! In the next moment, the solidified space shook violently and suddenly shattered. The two young women who were imprisoned inside spat out a mouthful of blood as if they had suffered a heavy blow. Their bodies flew backward quickly and were caught by the two old men behind them. The two old men were saint rulers. They quickly checked the identities of the two women and their faces immediately changed. They angrily stared at Jianqin and yelled, "How dare you, Changyang Shoten? How dare you recklessly injure people in our Protector clan? Everyone, follow me and capture this arrogant bastard." The two old men charged toward Jianqin as they spoke. Powerful presences revolved around them as they showed no intentions of holding back at all. Other than the two of them, a few other saint rulers in the crowd became furious as well. They all charged toward Jianqin. Just when a skinny old man wanted to viciously teach Jianchen a lesson, he was suddenly pulled back by a middle-aged man beside him. He could not help but say angrily, "What are you pulling me back for? Let go of me so I can teach this ignorant junior a lesson." "Old man, it's best if you don't get involved. This junior is extraordinary. We can't afford to provoke him," the middle-aged man replied through a communication technique. His gaze toward Jianchen was filled with great fear. This was not the only time the same thing happened. In different places in the crowd, several experts who wanted to charge out and teach Jianchen a lesson were pulled back by their friends. Not everyone in the Protector clan was unaware of Jianchen's name. It was just that not a lot of people knew about him. However, all those who knew about Jianchen deeply understood just how capable he was. Even though a few saint rulers had been pulled back by their companions, there were still 5 saint rulers who did not know about Jianchen. They furiously charged toward Jianchen and extended their powerful hands in an attempt to capture Jianchen. The 2 old men who had caught the heavily injured woman even used their saint weapons. Powerful ripples of energy coiled around the weapons. One of them stabbed toward Jianchen's chest, while the other mercilessly swung toward Jianchen's arm that was around Changyang Qinglingshuang's neck. They wanted to cut off Jianchen's entire right arm. Jianchen did not panic at all despite being attacked by 5 saint rulers at the same time. He remained composed, but his gaze became colder and sharper. "Mere saint rulers want to injure me? You overestimate yourself," Jianchen said in a deep voice, clearly reaching the ears of everyone present. When the people gathered in the surroundings heard Jianchen's cold and arrogant words, a few of them who did not know about Jianchen became surprised. They all thought that Jianchen really was arrogant to the extreme. He did not even take saint rulers seriously, and even humiliated them by overestimating himself. Jianchen did not loosen his grip on Changyang Qinglingshuang's neck. His free left hand was clenched into a fist. Without even looking at the 5 saint rulers, he directly threw a punch at the saint weapon that was heading toward his right arm. Jianchen's punch was unbelievably fast. The moment it shot out, it actually vanished for a moment. Jianchen had fused his comprehension of space from the 9th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler with the punch. He used spatial force to strike the saint weapon in a single moment. Bang! With a muffled sound, Jianchen's fist seemed to be indestructible. It was not damaged at all when it collided with the saint weapon, while the saint ruler was blown away along with his weapon. As he flew back, the sound of bones shattering rang out. His right hand drooped powerlessly, having been shattered by Jianchen's punch. Jianchen had forcefully taken on a saint ruler's powerful attack with his body. Not only was he unscathed, he had even blown his opponent away with a single punch. Jianchen did not hesitate at all. He swung his fist again, heading toward the second old man with the saint weapon. He sent the second old man flying along with his weapon, ending up in the same state as the first old man. The bones in his right arm had been shattered. Jianchen no longer cared about using his sword against mere saint rulers, because it was like using a butcher's knife to kill a chicken. His fist was more than enough, and it was even more intimidating. At this moment, the other 3 old men arrived beside Jianchen. Their 6 powerful hands viciously grabbed the joints of Jianchen's 4 limbs before exerting force at the same time. They wanted to forcefully remove the bones in his limbs. However, in the next moment, the 3 of them were all shocked, and a trace of shock appeared in their eyes. They suddenly discovered that their hands didn't seem to be grabbing onto a person's joints, but rather an extremely hard piece of iron. No matter how much strength they exerted, they couldn't move this piece of iron at all. Moreover, with their strength, even real metal would immediately deform from their grip. However, Jianchen's bones seemed to be countless times tougher than metal. Their fingers began to ache from exerting too much force, but Jianchen's bones did not move at all. Chapter 1084. Jianchen bellowed out as chaotic force surged within him. An extremely powerful force shot out from his body, knocking away the 3 saint rulers who were holding onto his limbs. Jianqin erupted with the strength of the 3rd layer of the chaotic body, which was equivalent to the 3rd heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor. It was not something that saint rulers could resist. The 3 saint rulers all vomited blood as they were blown away. They were heavily injured. A few people immediately flew out from the crowd to catch the injured people. When they checked their wounds, their faces immediately changed in shock. Don't think that I can't do anything to you just because we're in the Protector clan. I'll spare your lives this time because we're from the same clan. If the same thing happened on the Tianyuan continent, I could take your lives with ease, Jianqin said coldly. Jianqin, coldly, said as he glanced at the 5 saint rulers. He did not give them any respect at all, nor did he care whether they were from the Zhu branch or not. Jianqin did not know anyone in the Protector clan aside from Changyang Zhu Yunxiao and his wife in Changyang Prefecture. Jianqin waved his arm and tossed Changyang Qing Lingshuang out of the crowd like a dead pig. His gaze was as cold as an unsheathed sword. He said, Changyang Qing Lingshuang, it's best if you put away your pride as a member of the Protector clan before me. Jianqin, don't try to take advantage of your seniority, or I'll still kill you, even if you have the path lord of carnal desires behind you. No one caught Changyang Qing Lingshuang. In the end, she fell heavily to the ground and was covered in dust. She was in a horrible shape. Although many people had gathered there, it was deathly silent. No one said anything. They had all been stunned by Jianqin's strength and arrogance. 5 saint rulers had personally taken action, yet they had been injured so easily. They were as fragile as tofu. Moreover, he did not even fear the Holy Emperor, the path lord of carnal desires, which shocked all of them. As a Protector clan, Changyang Prefecture was one of the 10 most powerful clans on the Tianyuan continent. They were sacred and inviolable, supreme, and worshipped by everyone. Yet now, the bell of clarity had chimed 9 times to welcome a junior. Was this junior really the Holy Emperor? Changyang Qing Lingshuang had been extremely arrogant since young. Coupled with her impressive talent, she was greatly valued by Changyang Qingyin. Coupled with the fact that the Qing branch was the strongest among the 3 branches, she believed herself to be superior. Now that she had been humiliated by a junior in front of everyone, she immediately lost her mind from anger and lost all sense of reason. She obviously did not listen to Jianqin's threats. She shrieked, Changyang Shoten, how dare you go against your superiors and attack a senior of the clan? Where are the disciplinary elders? Why don't you tie up this disgraceful person and hand him over to the great elders? Changyang Qing Lingshuang was no longer as heroic as before. Her hair was disheveled and her clothes were dirty. They had even been torn in a few places. She seemed more like a beggar. A middle-aged saint ruler went up to cover Changyang Qing Lingshuang's mouth, but he was mercilessly pushed away. She was like an enraged lion right now. All she wanted to do was grab Jianqin and bite him a few times. 6 well-dressed, dignified, and righteous old men walked out from the crowd. They all looked at Jianqin with mixed feelings. They were troubled. The 6 old men were the disciplinary elders of Changyang Prefecture. They were all at the 9th heavenly layer of saint rulers. They possessed great status and authority, only second to the great elders. Disciplinary elders, why don't you punish this disgraceful clansman? Although Changyang Qing Lingshuang was blinded by anger, she knew that she was not Jianqin's opponent, so she yelled at the 6 old men. The 6 disciplinary elders sighed inside. They knew Jianqin's background extremely well. They had personally witnessed the great disturbance Jianqin had caused when he returned from the Sea Realm a few days ago. They knew that Jianqin was a powerful figure that even the 10 Protector clans were unwilling to offend despite his young age, so they obviously did not want to offend Jianqin. The 6 disciplinary elders arrived before Changyang Qing Lingshuang. One of them pointed a finger at Changyang Qing Lingshuang's throat, depriving her of the ability to speak. Afterward, he gently sighed. Ling Shuang, how can we offend an esteemed guest who has rung the bell of prime clarity 9 times? Today's mistake is all on you. Once the great elders return, we'll report everything to them. The 6 disciplinary elders did not mention the 5 injured saint rulers at all. They were not stubborn people. They knew who they could offend and who they could not. 7 tremendous presences appeared in the distance. The 7 great elders of Changyang Prefecture had returned and arrived on the floating continent very soon. They looked around and immediately noticed something strange. One of them asked with a deep voice, "What happened?" The 6 disciplinary elders immediately reported what had just happened. They avoided the important matters and focused on the trivial, basically placing all the blame on Changyang Qingling Shuang. Although the 6 disciplinary elders were usually righteous and impartial people, they knew what to say at a time like this. Changyang Qingling Shuang anxiously stomped her feet to one side. She felt wronged and unwilling, but unfortunately, she could not say anything. She had been restrained by 2 disciplinary elders, so she did not even have the opportunity to argue. Changyang Qingyun frowned after listening to the disciplinary elder's report. However, before he could say anything, Changyang Zuxiao heavily said, "Changyang Qingling Shuang, you've actually offended an esteemed guest. Your crimes cannot be forgiven. Disciplinary elders, immediately imprison Changyang Qingling Shuang in the 10,000-year ice cavern for 100 years. Yes, Grand Elder." The 6 law-enforcing elders bowed in unison. The 3 great elders of the Qing branch of Changyang Prefecture frowned even more, especially Changyang Qingyan. A sliver of anger even appeared in his eyes. Changyang Qingling Shuang was one of the most talented people in their Qing branch. Yet Changyang Zhu Xiao had just imprisoned her for 100 years. This was basically taking away 100 years of her cultivation. The 7 other clansmen who dared to attack the esteemed guest will also be imprisoned for 100 years. Changyang Zhu Xiao continued. His face was dignified, leaving no room for argument. In the end, Changyang Qingling Shuang and the 2 women beside her, as well as the 5 other saint rulers, were all severely punished. The people who wanted to attack Jianqin but were stopped by their companions in the end all sighed inwardly at how lucky they were. "Great-grandson, may I ask if you're satisfied with this punishment?" Changyang Zhu Zhao's dignified expression vanished as he amiably smiled at Jianqin. Jianqin nodded slightly and said, "Has the seal in great-grandfather Yunkong's head been removed?" "Great-grandson, it's all thanks to you that Kong has been tormented for many years. The seal has been successfully removed. From now on, Kong can finally continue cultivating." Changyang Zuyun Xiao chuckled as he relaxed inside. After exchanging a few pleasantries, Jianqin was brought into the divine hall by the great elders. However, Huang Wan was left outside, accompanied by Changyang Zuyun. Before long, a loud voice rang out from the divine hall, echoing through the entire Changyang Prefecture. "From today onwards, Changyang Zhu Xiangtian of the Zhu branch is a great elder of Changyang Prefecture. He is the 8th great elder of Changyang Prefecture," the loud voice boomed out. It came from the 7 great elders, announcing Jianqin's identity. However, they added the word Zhu to Changyang Shodan, symbolizing that he was a member of the Zhu branch. The news immediately caused an uproar in Changyang Prefecture. There were various voices, but half of them were against it. After all, Jianqin was still an outsider in the eyes of many people. Immediately, a few clansmen who were extremely dissatisfied with Jianqin's position volunteered to form an organization. They all gathered in front of the divine hall to oppose Jianqin becoming a great elder. However, their opposition was powerless before the 7 great elders of Changyang Prefecture. It did not have any effect at all. The 7 great elders all stood out to suppress them. The 7 great elders possessed an inviolable dignity in Changyang Prefecture. The 7 of them represented everything in Changyang Prefecture. As long as the 7 of them were united, they could decide the fate of Changyang Prefecture. Jianqin possessed the battle prowess of the 7th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor, coupled with the winged tiger beside him and the 2 supreme experts behind him in Ruijin and Blackfish. How could the Protector clan of Changyang Prefecture not try their best to rope in someone like that in? Once Jianqin became a member of the Protector clan of Changyang Prefecture, the powerful force by his side would stand on the side of Changyang Prefecture. Not to mention, Jianqin's fiancée in name, Yu Yu, had become Fairy Haoyue's disciple and obtained the Bright Moon Divine Hall. Her future was limitless. The highest floor of the Divine Hall was a majestic hall. It was decorated with gold and jade, far more luxurious than the imperial palaces of the 3 great empires. This was the ancestral hall of the Protector clan of Changyang Prefecture. The ancestral hall was filled with countless memorial tablets. These people were all the great elders of Changyang Prefecture in the past. There was no lack of holy emperor among them, but they had all vanished from the world. Jianqin and the 7 other great elders stood side by side before the sea of memorial tablets. They all worshipped the tablets together. The owners of the tablets were all the ancestors of Changyang Prefecture. Before coming to Changyang Prefecture, Jianqin had already expected something like this to happen. However, he would not become a great elder of the Protector clan, but Changyang Zhu would. Changyang Zhu words changed his mind. Great-grandson, you are a member of our Zhu branch. Our Zhu branch will be proud of you. Jianqin changed his mind because of that. He did not object to the title of Great Elder given to him by the Changyang Prefecture. All of this was for the sake of his great-grandfather, Changyang Zhu. All right, the ceremony is over now. Great-grandson, we should take you to the library now. It contains all the records of our Changyang Prefecture over the years. There are many things that record the secrets of the ancient times, as well as various cultivation methods, saint-tier battle skills, and the cultivation experiences of our ancestors. You have already become a great elder of Changyang Prefecture, so you have the right to read these records. Changyang Zhu smiled as he felt gratified. Jianqin's interest was piqued. He was extremely interested in the records that recorded the secrets of the ancient times. He did not care about the cultivation methods and saint-tier battle skills. Those things did not suit him at all.